Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, two-time defending ATV Motocross National Champion, Cody Jansen.
Am I on air? What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, and welcome to episode 51, our Three Palms review show of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, available for purchase today at shop.csttires.com. We have a jam-packed episode for you tonight. We'll cover everything that happened at the Palms ATV National, from great racing on the track to drama in the pits and everything in between. We'll cover it all on this episode. Joining us to help break down all the action is industry insider from Impact Solutions, Casey Greek. Love when Casey joins the show here. And also, first-time guest but long-time supporter, Jason Conti of FourWerx Carbon will join us as well. Super stoked about that. Jason is a great dude. We'll also welcome some of the riders who were at the center of attention in Texas, as event winner Joel Hetrick and third-place podium finisher Bryce Ford join the show as well. And then Witek Natceniek will join us, the Polish pro-class rookie. So stoked to get to know this guy. You're going to really enjoy that conversation. So much to get to on this episode, so let's not waste any more time. Thanks to all of you who are playing Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy with us. Round 2 was even better than the opener. I'm sure we'll get into that in the episode ahead. For more information, check out atvfantasy.com today. Thanks to our sponsors who are all on board with us tonight. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew, Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, FourWerx Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Their clippers rock, their nose hair trimmers are amazing, and they have a bunch of other cool stuff as well. So check out Manscaped. I wish I would have sooner. Get 20% off with free shipping by using code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support all these great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. The season is here, racing has begun, and we both know you need parts and gear. So no matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. So before you buy, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out in a major way. Now, the 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep. Let's go. All right, guys, here to help break down everything that happened at Three Palms. He's tied for 96th in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy. From Impact Solutions, it's former Mechanic of the Year Award winner and industry insider, Mr. Casey Greek. What's up, Casey?
What's up? You had to bring up my despise of fantasy, didn't you?
So this is the thing. So this is the thing, Casey. I was prepared to say you got substantially better or worse from the first week, but the first week you were 93rd and now you're 96th. So I mean, like, you know, at least you're consistent.
You rubbed it in. I didn't even realize I went backwards.
Yeah, one spot.
Oh man. Fantasy's frustrating, but it's such a blessing to the activities of the sport. Yeah, I love it.
I'm stoked about it. I think a lot of people are having fun. Also joining us, he's a first-time guest, but it's been a supporter of Digging Deep since day one, owner of FourWerx Carbon. It's Mr. Jason Conti. What's up, Jason? Welcome to Digging Deep.
Not too much, man. Thanks for having me on here. I'm pretty pumped to be on here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I knew it was the perfect opportunity to get you on after being at Three Palms at the races there. This is an idea I had last year, and so stoked to get you on. Stoked to have somebody. I think I remember kind of telling you about the idea. Must have maybe even been in an email or whatever about Digging Deep, and you kind of got on board right away. So let me just take this opportunity to thank you for that. It meant a ton to me, and took people like you. To help us, kind of get this thing off the ground at the beginning. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We from the get-go, when you sent me over that email, I do remember. Definitely thought it was the coolest idea, coming to the sport here. So, and if anybody to tackle it, I think you were the guy to do it, and you've you've done an awesome job, and I like to listen in and hear what's going on every podcast you got going. So
awesome. Awesome. Well, we're stoked to have you be a part of this one. And I told Jason leading up to the episode here that, we all debate and break down what happens at the races. All diehard ATV racing fans do. But here on Digging Deep, we're bringing you, the listener, into the conversation between ATV racing's most well-respected and knowledgeable individuals. So let's get right to the bench racing then. And I want to kick things off on this episode with a brand new segment, the Impact Solutions Impact Moment segment. This is something I'm really excited about. After a number of appearances here on Digging Deep, you guys should feel like you know Casey Greek by now. There are very few individuals out there who are more plugged in, more knowledgeable, and more well-respected than Casey. I've worked with Impact Solutions at a personal level for nearly a decade now, since their inception, and my friendship with Casey goes even back before Impact Solutions. And now since he's joined Jay Goebel at Impact, our friendships grabbed even another gear. So something we share, something that I know Jason will say that he shares too, something that is very important to me at Digging Deep is always trying to see things in a positive light, always trying to be a glass half full kind of guy, and overall just spreading positivity. Insert the brand new Impact Solutions Impact Moment segment. This is going to be a way to kick things off on a positive note, maybe shine a spotlight on something good that happened or is happening at the races. So Casey, first of all, it's an honor to have the backing of Impact Solutions here at Digging Deep going forward. Tell me about your motivation for the Impact Solutions Impact Moment segment. This is an idea that you had proposed to me just in the last couple weeks or months here. So tell me about the motivation there.
Yeah, it's just something that, like, I've been, I'm a serious podcaster. I travel a lot. And so I get to listen to, obviously, our shows and other shows that you do. And I listen to a lot of different podcasts, whether it be in the sport of racing or in other sports, or just like not so much politics, but just life podcasts. And I listen to so much things, for so many things. And it's just something that I wanted to do. And, we weren't in a position when you started this podcast to be on board, but things have progressed and things have gotten better. And we really have always wanted to be a part of it. And what I wanted to do with it is I wanted to insert into this podcast in a situation to where it made an impact. And one of the biggest things that I think in this sport that is needed and that I love about it is the positivity side of it. You cannot go somewhere and take your kids and turn them loose, but understand at the same time they're still in a chain link fence. Like, they're still there, and everything that's happened around them is so positive. So it's just something that I've always seen, and I've been in this sport, whether it's ATVs or back when I was doing dirt bike stuff. I think I'm going on like 24 years now. And the only thing that's ever kept me in it, it's not money. It's the passion that people bring and the positivity that I think your kids learn from racing. Mm-hmm. Once you're on that track, there's nothing else that matters besides you and that machine. So from a mechanical standpoint, like, obviously I have a heavy heart and have a lot of passion into the mechanical side, but as a rider, I think you gain so much personality and so many life lessons by being on the racetrack. So being involved, I just wanted to do something where we can kind of outline some positivity that we see through the race weekends. And when we get guys like you and Jason that are at the races and we see what's going on, I want to, let's broadcast that. Let's showcase the positivities of what the sport is. And so for me, like, I'm just going to go straight into it. What I seen in Texas at Three Palms was a promoter that is excited to have us there, and a track owner that is very excited to have us there. And I watched these guys put in the work late into the night and very early in the morning, and put in the passion that we have. Jason, he busts his ass to do this stuff. You, the same thing, like, you're putting in the work to make this stuff happen. And so when you see other people bring that in. So first off, my first moment of the weekend is just being somewhere that I feel so welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to go any further than that. I think they'll get the clue, and the fans of ATV racing should know what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that I really enjoyed from this weekend was the youth is what creates our sport. They're the reason that I get a paycheck, Jason gets a paycheck, you get a paycheck. The reason Joel Hetrick, Chad, Tom, or not Thomas anymore. It's so hard not to say Thomas
I know.
when you're just going. But you know, Jeffrey, like all these riders that are making a living doing what we love to do.
Mm-hmm.
The youth is what brings that heat, and the youth is why we're here. Mm-hmm. in real time. So the 250 class was incredibly stacked. Riders, like so many riders could have won each moto. We had divisions, we had LCQ. Mm-hmm. We've seen guys from all over the country, as far as California, as far as New York, New Hampshire, Maryland, Maine, Pennsylvania. And for those riders to travel down and race in the 250 classes, I think that is the hugest promise in this sport that we could ever want or imagine. When you get, I think there was 30 something 250 riders total.
Yeah.
And it was one of the largest classes of the weekend. Mm-hmm. That gives me, and I don't know about you guys, but it gives me job security in a sense, because that's what's coming. Mason Jackson, Ian Juka, you know, Tyler Lombardo, first national for Tyler Lombardo, coming straight out of Pennsylvania, been racing New England ATV. And I'll take that back. He's done some nationals as a youth rider, 50cc stuff, like, but sure. Only do Unadilla.
Sure.
No, they came from PA all the way down to Texas and raced and was competitive. And that's what I like the most about that. And then, you know, so the 250 class was incredibly stacked. The racing was phenomenal. Those guys, you know, you got guys from Florida, like, you know, Greenwald, like he comes straight out of Florida. We've obviously seen him over the last couple of years racing all the nationals with the Fierce guys and Corey Thatcher and those guys, and doing very well, and then just step up. The one guy we didn't get to see in full effect was Lad Weehan. You know, he moved up from the 90 classes into the 250 classes, and I think he would have been a force to be reckoned with too. Mm-hmm. So watching the youthfulness and the speed that the 250 guys are carrying right now is incredible. Mm-hmm. The other side of it that I wanted to talk about a little bit more in a positive matter, and the impact that it brings in, is the amount of travel. And I've already touched it a little bit, but I know of like 5 to, I'm going to go from 5, I'll just go straight out, 12 to 15 guys that traveled. And I'm going to go on the slim side, because I think it's more than that traveled from the Northeast to Texas to race the ATV Motocross Nationals. And I think that's huge. It's hard because I know there's probably 20 or 30 guys that come from Texas, right, multiple times, and they come to all the nationals and all that stuff. But these guys that are coming up from the Northeast that are coming in, I've talked to these guys, I haven't raced in 10, 12 years. I haven't done this, but like their kids are old enough now. They're kind of in like my age bracket.
Sure.
And they're coming back and racing it. And I think it's incredible, because those are guys that they're not calling, hey, I'm so-and-so and I want this free or whatever. No, they're just flat out spending money to come to the races. Mm-hmm. You know, the Shallow brothers, they come from Connecticut to all the nationals.
Yeah, it's wild.
There are a minimum of just 4 entries on single entries. Mm-hmm. So if they're all racing double classes, we're talking 8 classes or 8 entries there. And they bring a whole farm of people with them. So I just think it's great, like, to see the revolution. I feel like Not that years in the past have been terrible by any means, but I see this revolution of people rejoining our family.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about it like it's serious. Like it's a passion of mine. Like we can all go do something different. We can all, whatever, but no, there's a reason that we keep coming back. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I enjoy seeing things happen from afar. Like I look back and I step back and watch kind of what's going on and seeing guys come in and, no one really puts a spotlight on the vet class guys, but
Yep.
those classes were stacked.
They were big
and
too.
They were big.
Yes,
very full.
Yeah,
very full.
Qualifiers in some of those classes.
And those are the guys that are spending money like out of their hard-earned paychecks, and I think that deserves some recognition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So much to unpack there. It is a perfect thing, to have this impact moment segment here on the show. With Digging Deep, I feel like, again, I'm a constant optimist, so it fits so perfectly. Getting ready for this, Casey, you and I had a conversation that I'm always so leery. I don't want anything negative to ever be on the podcast. There's so much negativity out there in our world and on social media and all of these things. Like, we don't need that here. I don't want any of it. So this is a perfect way to always kind of start things off on a positive note. Yes. Like, how many times have I said on this show that we want to go to tracks who want to have us? The numbers too, like you're touching on there. I mean, the youth classes are big. The vet classes are big. All the numbers look big. There's always a feeling out period. I feel like at the beginning of the season, where, you go to the first race and you wonder what the numbers are going to be like, because nobody has really any idea. You go to the second race, is it going to sustain? So yes, like I feel like everything's in a great spot right now. And now when you go to a race like Pennsylvania is next at High Point, I mean, that's, relatively central for people, unless you're coming from the Texas area. So now I'm curious what things are going to look like there. All just really positive things. Jason, I want you to be able to weigh in here. I don't know if what you're thinking is on the same kind of wavelength as Casey, or if you have another thing, but what topic do you want to help us lead off our first impact moment segment with?
Well, I guess for me, I don't get to too many of the nationals. We try to, in years past when we were in the Midwest, we try to get to 2, 3, 4 a year, but now of course we're relocated down south, so it's going to be a little bit different. But
yep.
For me, it's always been kind of about the whole family, I guess, orientation of everything, especially like this round. I guess getting to the first round of the year, you get people who maybe haven't seen each other since last fall. You chat a little bit online, Facebook, social media, whatnot. But for us, I mean, we got to walk around and see people we haven't seen, see people who haven't seen each other, and it's kind of cool how it's just one kind of big family. And for us, I mean, the last 2 rounds that we've been to, we brought our kids with, who they kind of grew up kind of watching us go away for those weekends and work while we were there. But now it's kind of neat bringing them into the sport. And honestly, like Casey said, I mean, you can literally let your kid wander, and kind of no matter what, somebody else is watching over them. And not that we necessarily do that, but everybody just looks out for everybody when they're there. So aside from the racing, that's the biggest thing I would say. As far as the racing goes, I mean, I too, we watch around quite a bit. We've seen the amount of, RVs that were there and guys camping for the weekend. And I was pretty impressed with the numbers just from, the Thursday afternoon showing of people showing up. But the classes, I can honestly say, like, I haven't been able to watch constant racing at every national I've ever been to, because a lot of times we're set up there. But being able to sit there and watch those races, to see LCQs was really neat. You just generally don't see a lot of that in this sport. And I think it's, like Casey said, I mean, it shows a promising future, because the businesses that are in this industry, I mean, they're the ones that are, I mean, there's not that many that have stuck with it, but the ones that have, I mean, you try to stick investment into the sport, you're putting your own money into something that you don't know if it's going to work for you or not in the end. But that's kind of one thing for us. We've always said, we're never going to shy away from this sport, and it's definitely promising seeing all those kids, and especially those, deeper youth classes, getting so competitive. And I don't know, that's probably my big takeaway from that is just it seems to be growing back.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is really good.
I do think it's growing for sure. I mean, the numbers show it, like both of you said. Yeah, I mean, ATV racing is family. I've said that for, forever. I mean, with so many of us, with all of us, probably. I mean, your best friends that you have were some way, connected through racing. But yeah, I think that that's something that I've said so many times on this show. I mean, how many other people outside of racing or how many other sports or whatever, this would be such a foreign concept where you get to travel the country, meet up with all your best friends, in other different places across the country, do what you love to do, all as a family, spend that family time, which is invaluable, especially that becomes so clear as we get older. And yeah, I mean, I do think too, and I think it kind of shows on the podcast here, but the people that are like most passionate about it, and sure, there's people that companies, brands, families, whatever, that are passionate about it, but maybe don't have the means to help something like this. But that's what, with Impact Solutions now, with FourWerx from the beginning, like that's the support of Digging Deep. It's like it's supporting ATV racing in a way. And that in itself just kind of shows the ATV racing being a family atmosphere. It's like we're all trying to pick each other up. You guys wanted to help Digging Deep because you like what we're doing, because we're trying to help the sport. Well, I like, being in line with brands like FourWerx, brands like Impact, and maybe I'm able, that's the whole goal of all of this on your end of helping what we're doing too, is to help grow your brand, help connect, your companies with listeners of ours that, we have listeners in 70 different countries. Like maybe we can, it's just all about growth on all ends. So yeah, I feel like that's a great way to have this segment. For me, my impact moment has to do with the women's and girls classes. Between what you guys said with the youth classes, the vet classes, now I'm saying the women's and girls classes, there were 30 entries between the WMX women's, schoolgirl, and girls classes, and specifically the new women's 15 plus class. It's a brand new class for this season. It had 9 entries, and it looks like it's going to be a great bridge class to help grow the future of WMX. This is something that we talked about on previous episodes. And I think that class is going to help kind of grow the WMX class going forward. So my impact moment has to be the increased involvement of females in ATV racing, and the way ATV motocross is trying to prompt that growth with some new classes there. So yeah, I wanted to give the girls a shout out there. But if you guys don't have anything else to add there, I just want to say thanks to you, Casey, and thanks to Jay, thanks to Impact Solutions for partnering with us here at Digging Deep. And yeah, do you guys have anything else to weigh in before we move on to the rest of the show here?
No, I think we're good.
What about you, Casey?
Yeah, I think we're good. I'm excited that you brought up the WMX, because I have something that we're going to bring up at some point in this conversation about the WMX, and your predictions versus Josh's predictions, and what the end result was for round 1. And we'll see how the future goes, but you knew that was coming, so it's all good. No, I'm excited. I mean, let's get into this. Let's dig right in.
Yeah. Josh had hit me up and said, yeah, too bad him being right when I said Andrea Berger was going to win the opener and the championship. But when he had Shaw and Shaw won, he's like, yeah, too bad that can't help my fantasy team, because he's also struggling in ATVMX fantasy. But yeah, so before we move on, just want to say thanks again to Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions, the #1 factory authorized service center of Elka suspension here in the United States. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. So yeah, let's move on. Three Palms. I think there are plenty of things that we were focused on coming into the races. How was Joel Hetrick going to rebound from his wreck at Daytona? How ridiculous would he look on the new Yamaha on an outdoor track? after the purely incredible speed that we saw at the opener. I think we were all interested to see how Bryce Ford would bounce back after his misfortune at Daytona. Could Nick Janusa and Wesley Wolf back up their podium? So much going on, but I feel like qualifying was pretty status quo. Joel was fastest in both sessions. Bryce was fastest for a bit before Joel and Chad snuck by. What stood out to you guys after qualifying, and what was the most, what had you most excited heading into the motos? Jason, I'll start with you there.
I guess for me, for the motos wise, I mean, I think just the pace that these guys are pushing on these, especially like obviously the class running some new machines out there, Joel and Bryce, and having like Max in there, like the pace that they were setting was just incredible. For them to hold it as long as they had, I was sitting there on the sidelines watching lap times, and there was no fade, and it was just crazy. I mean, Joel looks pretty wild on that Yamaha. To see him in person for the first time was pretty cool. I mean, Chad's just Chad. He doesn't even look like he's going fast to me, but that guy just flies. And as far as Bryce goes, I mean, I've spent some time with him at his personal track, just testing some stuff and watching them ride. And it's hard to tell at his track because I'm just watching one guy, but out at Three Palms there, I mean, he was cruising. I know he gets in his own head, and you could see him shaking his head if he made a mistake, but he's definitely got the pace to stick with these guys. It's just a matter of putting the whole race together and not making those simple mistakes. But and with Max and Janusa in there, like, I mean, I think we're looking for a pretty good year as far as some battles here. So
yeah, it's going to be a good year for sure. Casey, what did you see in qualifying? What had you intrigued going into the motos?
Qualifying is so tough for me because I'm in the mechanics area just to make sure that I'm down there for the guys that I need to be down there for. So
sure.
On the Joel topic, like, he's obviously setting lap times that are ridiculous, and the same thing as Bryce and the same thing as Chad. Like, these guys are just setting lap times, and you're staring at your phone going, wow, like, what are they doing? Like, and so Joel comes out on top, which is obviously a good way to start the day off for me and Jay, like, because Joel's on top. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Right.
Like, he's good. And then, I'm watching Jeffrey and, so many of the other guys, but you can't see anything from the mechanics area. You get to see like 1.5 sections technically of what's going on. And so you're relying completely on those guys when they come in and they talk to you. And like, Joel never stopped, Jeffrey never stopped. So like, no one ever really stopped and never made any changes. I think I made a small change for like Logan Stanfield or someone, in the second qualifier, but it was just like change a couple clicks and we're just gonna go about the day and we're all good. And it really didn't change for me until the actual moto started and I got to watch, and we'll get into that. But
sure.
I mean, these guys, obviously Joel right to the top, Chad's right there, Bryce Ford, he did exactly what I expected him to do in qualifying. Yep. Like, he's gonna go out there and set blistering pace. Brandon Hogue wasn't quite where I thought he was going to be on setting that blistering pace. We've seen him qualify very well many times. Yep. Lindquist, I think, I don't remember exactly where he qualified.
He qualified fifth. Yeah.
Yeah, so not bad.
No, it's incredible.
And I don't expect to see him qualify much better than that.
No, I know. I think being top 5 is impressive though, because these are his first times having to time qualify.
Yeah, absolutely. It's impressive. I don't take that the wrong way, but I don't expect to see him qualify like Bryce or Brandon Hogue. Right. Or even Wesley Wolf. Like, I mean, Wesley has some sheer raw speed that's incredible.
Sure.
The one thing that I did see in qualifying between the first and the second qualifier that I was impressed with, and I felt like we're getting back to, and it sounds weird, but rookie status, Cody Ford. Cody used to qualify so last year, so 2020, his qualifying times and his results were a little bit different. But in 2019, Cody qualified better than he ever did. And that was his rookie year, and he had a great year. And he came out in qualifying on Saturday at Three Palms very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really excited to see that. And I think his race day kind of proved where he was at.
Agreed.
And it was cool to see other guys like Michael Allred, Michael Perkins, and just a lot of the other guys and where they kind of landed from Daytona, because I think Daytona was a little discouraging to some people.
Sure.
We talked about that on the review from there and stuff.
Yep.
But when you get into, the top guys, I mean, I know Jeffrey didn't have the day that he expected to have or wanted to have. And I think we're going to see a rebound for him at High Point. If we think back a couple years ago when we were at High Point last,
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey almost won his first ever pro moto there. So,
yep, sure.
and yeah, I feel like he should have won that moto. It was one little mistake.
He snubbed it. If he didn't snub it, he was going to win that thing. I swear.
Yeah, it's a famous corner for you and him. I think you had a rough day there too. So,
hey, my day went perfectly fine.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it's going to be good. I think we're moving forward, and I think we're going to see more from Jeffrey. And not that it was a bad day for Jeffrey. It was just about getting through the motos and doing things that he needed to do and those guys. But no, Three Palms was it lived up to last year, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, it was
at least on qualifying.
Yep, a great event, great track. I like going down there. I hope that it can remain being a staple for the series. So Joel takes the top spot heading into the heat races. Chad Wienen, Bryce Ford, Nick Janusa, Max Lindquist, and the rest of the guys follow suit. Almost identical to Daytona, and oddly enough, that's exactly how they'd finish in Moto 1, but it wasn't quite that simple. Joel grabbed the lead and led wire to wire, but early in the race, Bryce turned some faster lap times, even gave Joel all he could handle, similar to last year at Three Palms when he passed Chad back and was the fastest guy on the track there for a lap or two. So he made a mistake. He would go back to fourth before finishing on the podium. He got back by Nick Janusa there, but those were some super impressive laps for sure. The kid's got potential. You guys want to weigh in there, Jason? I know that you work closely with the Ford Brothers Racing team. Was it impressive to see what Bryce was doing at the beginning of Moto 1 there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know he's got that raw speed, but for him to kind of stick with those guys up front, it was definitely impressive. I think, like I said, he doesn't try to, I should say, but he does get in his head with some simple little mistakes, and I think that may bother him. And I think that's just a rookie or kind of a second year deal maybe, but I mean, he's got it. I believe he just kind of spun out there, and I was where I could see he was just in a little corner and he spun out and lost a bunch of time, but he's got it in him to really push those guys, and it's just a matter of him kind of keeping those laps together the whole race. And
it's developing a racecraft.
Agreed.
You don't just show up and have the racecraft that Joel Hetrick and Chad Wienen have. I don't care who you are.
Agreed.
And Chad didn't have it. Joel didn't have it. You're developing that racecraft, and the best way you can do it is what Bryce is doing right now, getting up there and battling with those guys as long and as hard as you can.
Yep.
And you're going to develop what they have over time. You have to become seasoned.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, when you look at all the racing and the battles and stuff that those guys had, and then you look at Bryce, who's, 18 years old, and he's been, a dominant rider for as long as we can remember. Like he hasn't diced it up with guys that are at his level. So to see what he's doing at an early age, pretty impressive. He was fast there early in Moto 1. So Joel's out front. Chad has to make a number of passes, but is in second by lap 7. Bryce finishes third. Nick Janusa, who was in the top 3 until the last laps of the Moto there, where Bryce got by, he's got sent back to fourth there. And I'll say, I want to touch on this here while we're kind of on the topic. Janusa continues to impress me. I think this is the best that we've seen him so far. I truly believe that. What do you think about that, Casey? I still believe, I think what we saw, maybe the box score doesn't show it, but what we saw at Three Palms, I still think Nick Janusa is a step ahead of where we've seen him in the past. I think that the box score might not show how fast he really was at Three Palms.
Yeah, like you said, on paper, Nick's day it went well. Let's all face it. If we could, any of us could be top 5 in that class, we'd be stoked. But
and he gave up some spot. He gave up some spots when he kind of made a little mistake, went around, had to go around a section, and he lost some spots there. I know that hurt him in the overall score.
I believe it was the first moto I talked to Nick, and I think he lost front brakes.
Okay.
So he had a little bit of an issue there, mechanical or whatever you want to call it. He lost front brakes, and that's what he kind of chalked up to what had happened. And then the second moto, he got a pretty bad start. And we're going to get into the second moto and some of the mistakes that we've seen in the second moto, and even some of the mistakes that we've seen in the first moto. I think we're still going to touch on guys behind, the 4 people that we've been talking about in this moto. But no, Nick is, dude, I think the snow is the way to go. I think everyone's going to travel to Florida to go train, and we're going to go down where it's warm. No, we're going to go up north. Let's go PA. Let's go Jersey. If you really want to be a hard ass, let's go up to Maine. Let's go train with the snowmobile guys on quads. I mean, it's working for Nick right now, so let's take it.
Yeah, there you go. Jason, I think that, what's so, and as you look at the results here, it's pretty telling. It shows it, but the quality of the class as a whole, there might not be 30 guys trying to qualify for the pro class, but the guys that are there, they're all ridiculously fast.
Yeah, for sure. I just watching, from qualifying to Moto 1, into Moto 2, is even off those, say, first 3 guys or first 4 guys, the battles that were still close behind were complete battles. I mean, these guys were putting down really good lap times, really good racing, but yet sticking with each other.
Yep.
And there's from, say, 5th place to 10th place, even back further even. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are pushing towards the front that if they get a good start, I mean, it could be, anybody's game, but no, there's a ton of talent. I mean, Nick really impressed me this last weekend. Kind of going back to him, I mean, he's a guy who, just talking to him on the phone, seeing him at the race, talking to him, he's definitely all in. I mean, for somebody to drive that far and put in, I mean, I'm assuming he drives his own truck most of the way there, drives the thing home. I mean, that's a guy who's a diehard racer, and he'll tell you, I mean, he puts in his all, and it showed this last race. So
Yeah, I like to see him. That he's taken that kind of step forward. He told us on the last episode, or one of the last episodes, that he's hungry to be that third guy. There's a third spot on the podium there, kind of open. So he wants to be that guy. So a few more things I want to touch on when it comes to Moto 1, including rookie Max Lindquist, who finished 5th. But even more impressive is the fact that at one point early in the race, he was mired back in 12th. His fastest lap was 3 from the end. And on the last lap, he was flying, fastest rider on the track by over 4 seconds. I was getting message after message saying, did you see what Max was doing at the end of the race? So he was flying at the end of the race there. Max Lindquist is the truth. I still can't believe how freaking good this 17-year-old kid is. Guys, I'll let you hop in there.
For me, it's my first year working with Max. We talked on the phone this off season, and I've seen him kind of come up through the amateur ranks and work through the pro-am class, and
Wisconsin connection there, Jason.
Yeah, for sure. But seeing him in person this last weekend, just going against these guys in that pro class, it was amazing to me to see him at the end of that race really, like you said, work his way through the pack, just putting down perfect laps. And he's a super fluid rider. It's pretty amazing. It doesn't, again, kind of similar with Chad, doesn't look like he's putting in a ton of effort, but just really putting down some really good lap times and smart too. And I think that's going to take him a long way through this, through the pro class, just being real subtle and smart and making good passes and all that.
So you imagine like what a guy's going to be like when they make it to the pro class, and you're trying to imagine what Max is going to look like in the pro class. And Casey, I mean, I've said it, we've said it on these episodes, talking about Daytona too, but he just looks the part. Like he looks like a top 5 guy. I don't know how, at being so young and his first experience in the pro class, and he dominated Pro-Am last year and all these things, but he's like, looks like a top 5 guy.
Yeah, and I made some bold predictions on Max early in the season, and
you did. And they're looking good.
I'm pretty good, so he's going to be just fine. And so one of the things that I've noticed with him, as a mechanic, I had to race against him on like 70s and 90s and stuff. So with Baird, I forgot about that. Exactly, and so I paid a lot more attention to him and that stuff than I think a lot of people do. And I think a lot of his amateur racing was overshadowed by Bryce Ford, which was rightfully so. Bryce is flashy, super fast, and did his thing. But Max always kind of just flew. And there's only a couple people that have ever beat Bryce Ford, Trevor Thatcher, Max Lindquist in the amateur ranks. And so I always knew Max was the real deal, and so it was an easy bet for me. Like I'll take that bet when let's face it, I'm a gambler. So, but that was easy to me. But what I've seen with him, the thing that's got a lot of people puzzled, and this is something that we haven't touched on at all in any of the podcasts that we've done, and in a lot of discussions that I've had with people in private, even is Max took a complete year off. He raced 250s, and he did very well in the 250 class. I think he ended up second or something, whatever it was. But he was very fast. And then he took a complete year off, and then he came back, and then he dominated Pro-Am. So it was like all of a sudden, everyone was like, whoa, who's this kid? He just came out and smoked everyone in Pro-Am, and he didn't smoke everyone. Zach Decker was right there with him. Zach was very assertive in that class with him. Unfortunately, Zach got hurt for 4 rounds in, and so we never really got to see it showcased. But what we did see was, as Jason said, you see a lot of resemblance of Chad with Max. No, there's an immense amount of resemblance between those two. Besides, they're like 8 inches difference in height. They look freaking identical, and they ride very precisely identical. And that's what we're seeing. But the one thing that, and I've said it over and over again, and it's going to sound repetitive, but the maturity that we see. And what I blame Max's maturity on is because we share the same birthday, and I'm very mature. Sometimes, not really, but Max is a different breed. He's young, and I'm gonna still stick by what I've said. Max is gonna be on the podium by the end of the year. Before Redbud.
And honestly, when you first said that, and I'm the biggest Max Lindquist fan, like we live not that far apart, 20, 25 minutes. Like, I told him on the podcast, I felt like I was, like he's my guy. Like I was on the bandwagon before anybody else, even like you said, knew what was going on. Like we talked about on the podcast that, he had taken that year off. He could have came and dominated the 250 classes because last we had saw him, he was racing Bryce in 2019. He could have dominated the 250 class. He didn't want to. He wanted no part of that. So they were going to go home, train with Chad, get ready, get faster, come back to the Nationals when he was 16 and could race a big bike class, ended up being Pro-Am. And at the very first race, I remember like last year, I remember thinking, ahead of time, like, man, did he bite off more than he could chew? And sure enough, him and Zach get in that crazy battle at the first race, and the rest is history. He dominates Pro-Am and wins the championship. Now he's a top 5 pro here. We moved him up to tier 2 in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy. And the guys that are in that group with him, Nick Janusa, Wesley Wolf, Brandon Hogue, Jeffrey Rastrelli, those are guys that he's always looked up to. And he still was the second highest picked rider in that group, meaning people believe in this kid, and it's hard to blame anybody at this point, because like I said, he's the truth. So you two were on location, kind of moving on to the next little topic here. What happened early in that race between Jeffrey Rastrelli, Wesley Wolf, and Brandon Hogue? Because they were all right around the top 5. Then they ended up all going to the back of the pack, all the way back. And then both Wesley Wolf and Brandon Hogue DNF'd. So what can you guys tell us? I think, Casey, you were in the tower, right? So what can you tell us about that?
That battle was intense, because those guys none of them were doing anything spectacular. None of them was going to make some crazy pass out of the box to make that work. And then they were so tight, you could literally throw a blanket over. And I remember sitting up there with Rodney, and, we're calling the race as we go. And I looked away to look at, I think it was like the top 3 guys and see what was transpiring there. And I looked back over to the corner before the finish line, and those 4 guys are all stuck, literally completely stuck, cannot move. Everyone's yelling. And we could hear them yelling because we weren't but 25, 30 foot away from them. And they're all yelling at each other, and no one can do anything. And they're all jerking and, trying to get the bikes out.
Sure.
But I think Brandon just stalled it. And it was just a chain reaction, from Brandon, Wesley, Jeffrey, Max. It all just kind of piled in there. So, I think Wesley ended up having some kind of a failure later in the Moto, and end up DNFing. Brandon Hogue, the same thing. Unfortunate situation. Had some sort of issue and end up DNFing the Moto. Max Lindquist was the tail end of the traffic jam in that corner, and he ended up coming back to 5th that Moto. So oddly enough, the way it all trickled down, I think just the consistency of Max ended up putting him in that position. Jeffrey kind of got the shit end of the stick, if you want to call it, because he was in the middle of everyone. So he was almost the last one to get out besides Brandon, because Brandon was still trying to start his bike where everyone else had restarted their bikes and got out. It was pretty much Jeffrey couldn't move until the guy in front of him and the guy behind him moved.
Sure. Yep.
And then he got to go. But he had to wait for everything. He had to wait for the pieces of the puzzle to fall apart for him to get out of there. So
Gotcha.
That kind of hurt Jeffrey's, Moto 1 there in that situation, because I think he was feeling pretty good, and he was doing this thing. He was working his way through, and, that group of riders is incredibly fast and incredibly competitive with each other.
Yep.
So those guys, Jeffrey, Brandon, and Wesley have been around for some time now. I think Brandon's a couple years in, Wesley's obviously a few years in, Jeffrey's a veteran. Those guys are really competitive, and Jeffrey don't want to say that he got beat by Wesley Wolf and Brandon Hogue.
No doubt.
Brandon don't want to say that he got beat by, those 2 guys of Jeffrey and Wesley's the same thing. So they all have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, and I think we're going to see some crazy battling with those guys. And then you're going to insert Max, that I think at times is going to sit on the outside of it. And you can let's watch and see what transpires. But you're going to see Max sit on the outside of watching these guys. I think he learned a lot at Daytona. Like, you can only get hit so many times before it starts to fatigue you.
Right.
And you can only hit someone so many times until it starts to fatigue you. Like, those jars that you take when you're doing that, like, and I called it before the race ever started, like, Wesley Wolf's going to look at Max Lindquist and just slam him. I said it flat out, and that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yep.
The thing that I didn't say was Max is straight up came back at him and slammed him in the next corner, which is what I wanted to see from a rider at his age.
Yep.
So Max learned something really quick at Daytona, and he learned another thing at Daytona, look up a little bit, because he could have maybe avoided the traffic jam there in that corner and would have went around him. But the rider that we haven't mentioned yet that did avoid the traffic jam was Logan Stanfield.
Mm-hmm.
Logan went from 9th to 5th in one corner.
I
made a comment.
That's exactly what you guys said on the broadcast.
Yeah. So I made a comment in the broadcast, but I made a comment on like social media. I'm like, you should get an award for passing the most people one corner, because he literally went from 9th to 5th in one corner. And the only thing he didn't do that I've seen in the same situation years ago at Pleasure Valley, when Joe Bird, Kramer, and all those guys got into it, Doug Gus went around everyone around the outside and he waved at him. Mm-hmm. And so I told Logan, I said, dude, you failed.
Hey,
you didn't wave as you went by.
Right.
And so, but it was cool. I mean, and Logan, Logan killed it, and he was in the right position at the right time. He didn't get a good start, but he was in the position when those guys had made a mistake. It just happened to collect all four of them, and there he went.
Right. Yeah. Shout out to Logan Stanfield and Cody Ford, both super strong rides, 6th and 7th. Like you said, Jeffrey ended up 8th after, kind of that early race debacle there. Witek was in 9th. Super impressive there. Another good ride for him. Looking forward to talking to him on the show here in a little bit. And Michael Allred, who ran as high as 6th early after that melee, like Casey was just talking about, he earned another top 10 finish. So that was good. Let's move on to Moto 2 then. Bryce grabbed the whole shop. It was quickly overtaken by Joel and Chad. Joel led all laps, but Chad kept him very honest. And the lead never got as big as 3 seconds. And at the midway point, Chad had it under a second. So overall, my takeaway is we're in for another knockdown drag out war between these two for the title. Jason, what about you? You were there in person. I think it's going to be another good year, good battle between these guys.
Yeah, I think definitely it's going to be a good year for that. One thing, it's going to come down to the start for sure. I know they push each other early on, but it was almost too close at the end. It was crazy that they could run those paces the whole time. But yeah, I think for sure we're in for a good year. You can tell Joel's comfortable on that bike. Chad's obviously really comfortable on that bike. So it's going to be equipment for equipment. I mean, they're on the same machine based setup, but there's really no excuses there, and it showed. I mean, they started to walk away at the end there, and it seemed like Bryce kind of settled in behind there, but and then Max was actually catching up too, and towards the end, but Chad and Joel definitely have a unique ability to just put the pedal down and never let go. So I think it's going to be a really entertaining year. I wish I could get to more races just to see those two battle it out, but I'm also kind of looking forward to seeing some of these, 3rd, 4th, 5th guys come and battle it up front too. If they get some good starts and push these guys, I think there's definitely ability to see some new faces on the podium this year, or maybe even higher on the steps. So.
And that's what we all want to see is different guys kind of fill out that 3rd spot. I mean, that's something that we've talked about here that I think everybody's really excited to see if guys on different weekends can step up to the plate there. It's funny because it kind of feels like the same old battles we've always seen between Joel and Chad. And it's easy to forget already that Joel's on a new quad. It's red, but he's on a Yamaha just like Chad is. So it's kind of cool. And Casey, after Daytona, Joel was sitting 15th in points. One race later, Joel is second in points, only 13 back. I'm asking you because, you're part of his inner circle there with Impact Solutions. I have to feel like he feels like he's in a good position, all things considered.
Yeah. So like we talked about qualifying, and now we're talking about Moto 1, and my view of the actual racetrack and the race itself is completely different from qualifying to Moto 1.
Yep.
So I don't get to see anything. I have to completely trust what my riders are telling me in qualifying, and you don't always get to see it. And so Moto 1, I go up to the tower and I'm with Rodney, and we go through the motions, and we do the first moto, and obviously Joel won. So it's a good day for me. All right. Like, Joel's a Elka guy, Impact Solutions guy.
Yep.
So that's a good day. All of our riders did very well. And the one thing I noticed, and Jay was standing next to me, Rodney was on my right. We were announcing together, and Jay usually comes to the tower and watches the race with me. And I don't like, he's not in here anymore. So I don't like when Jay is in the tower with me because, like, he's my boss.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like we're both like puking before the moto. Like we're both super involved, and the passion is super deep between the both of us in it. And we're standing there, and I looked over at him about a little before Joel made the big mistake, the first moto, when the gap got really tight.
Yeah.
And I just told him, I said, he don't look right. He don't look like himself. But from the qualifying times, you could have never told that story blindly. You didn't know that song. And so I'm like, he don't look right. And he's like, what do you mean he's leading? Like, he's fine. And I'm like, no, like, I've watched that kid ride so much this winter, and I know what he's capable of. We've seen Daytona, the direction that it was going before, some unfortunate situations. And I'm like, he doesn't look right. And so I left it alone. Joel obviously won. Chad, just solid as a rock.
Yep.
And he's in a very good situation for the championship situation that is there. Joel knows what he needs to do. Chad knows what he needs to do. Chad's going to pick the spots in the races. The thing that I took away from Three Palms and Hole, and I'm jumping way fast forward because I wanted to mention this later, was the results of Three Palm last year and the results of Three Palms this year were completely different.
Yes.
And I won't go too deep because I do want to talk about it later.
Yep.
What I seen is Joel Hetrick. I didn't feel like he was Joel right then. Okay. He won. It was great. Everyone's happy. But maybe I read too far into it. Maybe I look too deep into what is going on, and I'm like, ugh. So I didn't say anything to Joel. Obviously, you're not going to bring something up.
Of course.
But we come up for the second moto, and this may help us lead into the second moto, and Jay walks up, and I'm like, what did Joel say? And Jay primarily takes care of Joel. I take care of pretty much everyone else. Jay and Joel, if Joel needs something, like, I'm always there. Like, if there's a decision that needs to be made race day, Jay and myself, we discuss it, and with Joel and the team, and then we make decisions. So it's a team effort, but it's different. Jay is Joel's guy, and they've been working together since he was on 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, I mean, you can't come in between that relationship. It's incredible.
Right.
But I'm like, so, I talked to Joel, and everything's good. We won. And I'm like, yeah, cool. What do you think? And yeah. So we kind of went about it, and I said, what do you think? And he's like, I asked Joel, and this is what Jay said to Joel. Uh-huh. So if you were 100% at Daytona, coming into Daytona, you were 100%. Yep. What are you today? And this is where shit gets serious. Okay. And I probably shouldn't say this to the world, but it is what it is. And Joel said, I'm 80%. 80%. Take it for what it is and how it comes out. I don't really care either way.
Well, and I think he did say something like that on the podium too. Like he's about 80%.
I didn't listen because I didn't want to get sprayed with champagne, so I was running.
Yeah.
But that's just my MO.
I'm pretty sure he said something like that, and I know exactly where you're going with this. Last year, he put it all on the line at Three Palms because that was such a pivotal race, a pivotal event for that championship last year. He left it all on the table, and it wasn't enough. It was like, maybe he had brought a knife to a gunfight. This year he goes there, whether it's the new machine or, everything in his program, he was at 80% and he was still able to go 1-1 and have a perfect day. So you're saying going forward, maybe Joel's going to be that much better. That's where you're going.
You're still in my end of the show closure.
Well, I knew. See, and this is something that I thought about. If you're taking Joel last year as a template to compare it, man, you got to believe he's a light year ahead. He couldn't even make.
That's what he was. But that's what everyone's doing right now is just trying to compare.
Yep.
If you're a diehard Honda guy, and I bleed Honda. Like I'm such a Honda guy, but I've been preaching since like 2014. Like, these guys need to switch to Yamahas, and I'm bleeding unoxygenated blood right now. Like it's blue as it gets, and I've been preaching it for a very long time. But we're filled with hard-headed individuals, and if we're not hard-headed, you're not going racing. So that's a quality trait when it comes to racing. But we're seeing stuff, and Joel isn't as good as he is right now because he switched machines. Let's face it, Joel is very good on any machine that he rides. We've seen him win races on multiple different colors now, or multiple different bike brands, or quad brands. So, but what I took from it was the thing for me is I feel like I know the rider so well that I picked it out in the first moto that I didn't feel like he was 100% who he was. Yeah. And then I got reassurance without asking the question myself.
Right.
So take it for what it is. But when you think about this stuff as deeply as I do, and you lose as much sleep as I do over this sport, what you learn from getting a comment from someone that's just going to tell you as raw as it is, like me and Jay, like, we're so raw with each other, it's sickening. And he wasn't trying to shelter a question. Like, he wasn't like, hey, yeah, you felt like Joel wasn't right, so I asked him this question. He's just like, I'm like, hey, what did Joel say? And he's like, this is what I asked him. And this is what his answer was.
Yep.
Take it for what it is. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now, is to give the people the reality of what is going on. So I could put my foot in my mouth in a hurry.
Yep.
Because we could go to the next race and it not be the same result or whatever it is. But what I'm saying right now is it's sickening what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
And where Joel's at.
Right. And I told Joel it was Three Palms last year for the first time ever. It looked like he was riding on outdated equipment. And I'm a guy that still has TRXs. It looked like he was on outdated equipment that couldn't compete. When you're going, he was going as fast as that bike would go. That's how it felt. And he couldn't keep up, and he was outdueled by Chad. So going forward, it's going to be really interesting, but I have to believe that Joel likes the position he's in.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
All right, guys, here he is, the man that stole the show in Texas, brought to you by CST Tires. Visit shop.csttires.com today to join this guest and myself on CST's Pulse MXR tires. Soft and standard compounds are available now at shop.csttires.com. It's legend of the sport and Three Palms event winner, Mr. Joel Hetrick. What's up, man? Congrats on the big bounce back win in Texas.
What's up, Cody? Happy to be on again. And yeah, definitely a better result at Texas than Daytona. I was just obviously super stoked to be able to do that coming off that crash. And, there's just, there's a lot to talk about. It was an interesting weekend, and, it obviously turned out great for me, but definitely some good battles.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, things can turn around quickly, can't they? It feels like yesterday, like you kind of just referenced there. You suffered that misfortune in Daytona, and the result is 15th in points and a big deficit to make up. Fast forward one race later, after that dominant performance at Three Palms, you're now all the way up to second in points, just 13 back of Chad. That has to have you feeling pretty good, all things considered after the opener there.
Yeah, I was actually super surprised to see myself bounce from 15th to second. I knew if I won both motos, I would get up there, but I didn't expect all that, which is really tight points. I mean, it's like 56 I have, and then 55, 55, 54. So we're real close, but
right.
It's definitely way, I'm way happier to be where I'm at now. And it doesn't really seem like it's the end of the world with the points difference, coming from a win like that. And with what I could do, which was limited before Texas and everything like that, riding was limited. Just, my ability wasn't fully there because of the crash. So I was actually super happy to be able to do that. I know I told you I was 100%. Obviously I was telling everyone that because mentally I needed to be that, but
right.
Physically on the track, I don't think I was. And it showed a little bit here and there, made a couple mistakes. But for the most part, I mean, the bike was working awesome and the track was in my favor. Even though it was rough, I kept telling myself all day that it wasn't that rough. And I think that played into my favor, just going out there with, the head that it didn't matter how rough it was. I'm going to go out and try to lay down these laps every lap. And if you look at the times, that's what we did. We had a heck of a race, both motos, and the lap times were just gnarly.
Yeah, I texted you like you referenced there before the races. I was getting a bunch of inquiries about your health, and I wanted to know where you were at before I picked you in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy as my fantasy pick. So tell us about your health, kind of going into the races there, how you were recovering, how you were feeling, how much riding and prep time you had before the races. Tell us about that, because I believe you told somebody, it might have been on the podium, that you were maybe 80%, but like you said, you were saying you were 100%, almost like speaking it into existence.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of my racing, and, mental is a huge part of it. So telling myself that I'm 100% and I can go out there and win, my potential is there. I can win. That was a big deal that day because I was tired, and it showed not by the lap times, but just by my riding, the couple mistakes I had. But, coming up to the event, like preparation wise, I think I rode a total of 6 days in that huge break we had.
Okay.
So that's 6 days. I mean, that could be, I had 2 motos one day, 4 motos the other day. Like it wasn't consistent enough for me to be very happy or confident with going into the race. And then, physical fitness wise, it seemed like everything I would do, I would be so exhausted, sore, stiff after. It's like I just kept setting myself back. So I took more time off, and I think it helped because when I got to the race, I was excited to ride. I was, I was completely recovered from not doing typical, daily activities, but there's pros and cons to it. So the pros were, I feel like I was fully recovered. I was excited to ride, and the cons were, 15 minutes into a moto and Chad's breathing down your neck, like you feel that 80% coming.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, given the circumstance and the hurdles that you had to overcome and how bad it looked at one point, late in the day, on that Tuesday at Daytona, given all those things, I mean, like it was literally a perfect day for you. It just felt like one of those days that we've seen so many times, a number of times with you. Like I said, perfect. I mean, first in both qualifiers, 1-1 in the motos, first overall, perfect day. But this was different because it was the first win on the Yamaha. It was the first win on CSC tires. And basically, like, as much as things change, they stay the same. So we discussed the Three Palms round being pivotal last season. What was it like to go back to that event now here in 2021 with a whole new program? Was it like having an entirely new weapon at your disposal this time around? Because we discussed in depth, you and I, and then, tons of other people here on the show, that last year that race was pivotal, but I mean, you were doing all you could do, and it was kind of like having a knife at a gunfight, basically. Like you were doing all you could do, but the bike wasn't up to snuff. You go back there this year, you're not even at 100%, and you're on this new machine and you're able to get the job done. That has to have you feeling like you're on top of the world.
Yeah, definitely. And we were actually talking about that today. I think I told you guys in another podcast, Saturday 2020, after Three Palms, I had thrown up after the event because I was completely drained. And at that time of, the series, you're in peak condition. I mean, your physical fitness is through the roof because you've been racing all year long.
Right.
So for me to be able to come out this year on a whole new machine, new tires, and win the race where I'm at in life right now with my fitness and everything, and just how the season started, it's like, to me, it's like a no-brainer. Obviously I made the right decision on switching to a Yamaha. Two, it was not like it was, I'm not going to say it was effortless, but it was less effort to ride that machine faster, like at that pace. And I don't know, I just feel like if I had that, Yamaha differently, but that's nor here nor there. It's I know what it did this year, and it really worked awesome in the train track turns with the acceleration bumps coming out of them. Whether like last year the TRX did not at all. Like I feel like I was held back coming out of the turns. The rear end it wouldn't track through some of that stuff like this Yamaha does, and it was just a huge eye opener this year doing that and be like, wow, if I was a little bit better shape, I think I would have been happier with how I did. But I knew in the back of my head, like, all right, well, it's time to work. I mean, it ain't time to screw around just because I won. It's time to go back to work. And that's what I've been doing. I'm at the track today with Wesley Wolf and Adam Ulrich riding, and we've already done two 15+ minute motos already. And, we're not even halfway done yet. So we're putting in the work this time. I know I am. And I know I can be better physical wise. I know the bike's kick ass right now, so there's nothing I want to do to that, but there's just things I can do, and I'm going to improve myself and come out in High Point, one of my favorite tracks, swinging.
Yeah. Phenomenal day, phenomenal win for you there. And like you said, I think you're in a really good spot, especially all things considered after the opener. So moving on to High Point, that's next up. Like you said, I mean, when I think of High Point, I think of some dominant Joel Hetrick performances up there. So you have to feel good about that being the next one on the schedule, back on the schedule for the first time since 2018. And kind of seems like a perfect place to help, continue to close up that points gap, because it feels so different than a number of years ago when you crashed at the opener. It seemed like you fought that 25-point deficit for so long, or whatever it was, close to 25 points, and late in the season you were able to make up a bunch of ground. Well, to make up a bunch of ground in the very next race, I feel like again, like that's got to feel like a great good feather in your cap. And now to go to High Point, a place that's been so good to you, man, you could come out of there smelling like a rose.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, there's a strategy to everything, and we were trying to put a plan into our program this year. What track suits Joel best, what tracks are we could do better at potentially, and it's not I don't know what I was going to say. It's not like I'm hiding the fact that I can ride hard pack. So we know that I can ride hard pack really well. And that's the plan for this race, is to go in there and ride this hard pack and try to gain those crucial 6 points like we did at Texas. Because going into Texas, it was like, am I going to be able to do this? We'll just try to split, get out of there. I think I said before, I stopped telling people, we're not splitting anywhere. I'm going in to win everything I can win, and that's it. So actually no one said to split this year, which is good, but that's typically the game plan is, maybe we'll just split, but right now it's maybe we'll just go out there and go as fast as we can every single lap and try to win, the Moto. So that's the goal for High Point. I'm staring at a track right now that's super hard packed, looks just like it. And I know I'm getting in the right training, the right riding, and it's going to be a really fun one. I'm excited to see how the track lays out, how it, comes into play with hopefully we have good weather and everything. And, it could be an interesting weekend. It could be a tough mudder, or it could be, awesome hard pack race.
Yeah, I feel like you never know in Pennsylvania this time of year. That first moto last time we were there in 2018 stands out to me because you clip that step up double at the beginning of Moto 1 there and go on a furious run, damn near win that thing by the end of it. So that was pretty impressive. And I can't wait to see I'm biased, but I can't wait to see the advantage that I think you're going to have on these guys with those CST soft compound MXR tires. You're practicing on there, and maybe you can vouch for this, but I truly believe that those are the conditions where they're at their very best. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like when we get to High Point.
Yeah. So like, I was just going to say, so far today, it has been like just amazing to feel them be able to hook up on this hard pack stuff. And I was actually really surprised how comfortable I was right off the bat, being that I haven't rode a lot of really hard pack stuff. So today, this was a huge eye opener, like how well they really work. And we had talked about it before, being so soft and gummy in a smaller diameter tire rather than the Maxes, I think is a little bigger. I think that it really helps. And I don't know if the sidewall different, if there's any sidewall difference, but it feels like the tire transfers the side bite a lot better than the Razor Pluses, if that makes sense. Like it just seems like it grabs side bite a lot better and it's more consistent, if you will. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know with our power package, we don't have too much here or not enough there. We have a really solid package, and I think is going to come into play here at High Point. You don't want to be blowing the tires off.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I do think that it's a less rigid tire than what the new Maxxis is. And that the side bite on those things is so good. But man, I want to congratulate you obviously on another victory down there, the 39th of your career. But first, it was a first in so many ways. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us a little bit, especially while you're at the racetrack. And man, like I said, you and High Point go together like peanut butter and jelly. So it should be really exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll be slamming peanut butter and jellies all day at High Point too.
You're the man. Go ahead.
I got one question that I would like. I'm sure you could figure it out. And I love the statistics you always post of the riders. 39 overall wins is awesome. I love hearing that. I would love to know the Moto wins. I've always wanted to calculate it, but I don't know. If I have ADHD. I can't sit there and add them up. You have it?
I have it on the fantasy website, so I can let you know what that is. Yep.
All right. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Here, if you hang on 1 second, I can tell you exactly what it is.
For this type of information, I'll wait.
86 Moto wins to date for Joel Hetrick. Not bad.
Nice. Okay. You're the man.
All right, pal. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again for making some time for us. And we always appreciate you here on Digging Deep.
No problem. Happy to do it. We'll see you at High Point.
Awesome, man. Congrats again. That's Three Palms winner and former two-time champ Joel Hetrick, brought to you by our friends at CST Tires. Go to shop.csttires.com today to pick up some fresh Pulse MXR tires for the 2020 season. Thanks again, pal. Congrats, and we'll see you at High Point.
All right. See you there. Thank you.
Welcome to the team, two-time champ Joel Hetrick, who dropped the biggest news of the offseason when he announced his move to CST Tires. The CST takeover has been gaining momentum over the past several seasons, and now Joel Hetrick and his Phoenix Racing teammate Jeffrey Rastrelli are the most recent additions. The Pulse MXR tire has helped lead riders like Thomas Brown to race wins and 3 consecutive Quad Cross of Nations titles, Nick Janusa to the Pro Class podium, myself, Cody Jansen, as I rode my Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to back-to-back national championships in the Junior 25 Plus class, and the most recent additions have us thinking a Pro Class national championship is on the horizon for CST tires. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many others are believers in CST Tires. Are you? CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. You already know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Whether it's second all-time winningest, 7-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, or 6-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFC 450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This unprecedented success for the YFC 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undeniable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has created a Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Better yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and even stronger for 2021, meaning Yamaha riders are about to cash in on higher payouts and more prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFC 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. Ssi Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, WORX Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and oh yeah, 6-time NHRA World Champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades, supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2021's impressive lineup includes Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli of the Phoenix Racing Team, myself, Cody Jansen, and my back-to-back national championships, Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, Wesley Wolf, and many more, including all of the top 14 GNCC Series pros, led by the champ Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, and Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com, purchase at your local dealer, or message the show for their contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. So Joel Hetrick, who you just heard from there, goes 1-1. Perfect day for him. Chad grabbed second, strong second. He, like I said, he put in a good fight, kept Joel really honest. Bryce finished third in the Moto as well there, third overall, 3-3 day for him. That's his third pro class podium. Congrats to him. But the gnarly battle was those tier 2 riders. We've talked about it a little bit here. The guys outside the top 3, Max Lindquist, Wesley Wolf, Nick Janusa, Brandon Hogue, Jeffrey Rastrelli. They were locked in a crazy battle. Brandon Hogue was the lead dog there in the pack for that pack early. Wesley Wolf and Nick Janusa were both quick. Kind of touched on this already, but I think that the rides that they put in there in the second moto confirmed the speed of theirs that we saw at Daytona. And then, but when the dust settled, it was the 17-year-old rookie Max Lindquist who topped them all for the fourth spot there in the moto, fourth overall. Jason, we talked about it a little bit. You're a guy, you guys are located now down in Texas with FourWerx, but Wisconsin is where you originally hail from. Max Lindquist too, I gotta believe. I mean, I'm a Wisconsinite. Obviously, it's cool for a kid like Max Lindquist from Wisconsin, from our native land, to kind of be mixing it up. But again, and I'll say it again, this is going to be a battle to watch all season long. But you got to believe. I mean, think about, and I posted about this a couple days ago, but Max Lindquist, who outdueled guys like Jeffrey Rastrelli and the guys in that tier this last weekend. When Jeffrey Rastrelli was making his professional debut, Max was winning a title on a 50 in the 50 CVT class. Just incredible, Jason. I got to believe I still battling guys like legends, guys that you looked up to, all your heroes, that again is something to me that's so amazing about what Max is doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the one advantage for him, I guess, going into the pro class this year, I think is probably just the fact that he's been able to work with Chad, ride with Chad.
Mm-hmm.
But that's got to be a little bit of a kind of a weight off your back just jumping into that. But I hadn't watched. I've known of Max for a long time. I hadn't followed him too closely through his earlier days, just because when I go to a race, it's like just bam, I have to see everybody. But anyways, I mean, seeing how far he's progressed as quickly as he's progressed, and then jumping into this class and just seeing him go to the point of where he's at right now. He looks comfortable. He doesn't look like he's nervous at all. Maybe he doesn't have the best starts to get out there, but for him to work his way through and be a part of those guys who can get on the podium, and I think will get on the podium, and watch them all battling out. But like I said, it goes back to just how smart he rides. But I don't think he necessarily looks like he's gonna take somebody out on purpose or jam anybody if he doesn't have to. But he works his way through so methodically, and that second moto impressed the hell out of me, honestly. He kind of came out of nowhere, like
late in the race.
It was like all of a sudden, I mean, we knew he was there. I was watching on my phone just the lap times as I was watching it in front of me, but he was pulling those lap times just constantly. And it was like, all of a sudden he was, like I said, he was trailing on Bryce. I mean, he wasn't necessarily like super close, but he got close at the end. And I know those top three guys, well, maybe not Joel and Chad, but Bryce tried to settle in a little bit there, and he thought he could just hold it, but Max pushed it the whole time. He's and I'm a diehard Wisconsin guy. I'll always be, but it's so cool to see him being kind of a native of my home state. You don't see a lot of, you can't train a lot in Wisconsin. So,
no.
Between yourself, Sam Rowe, Max Lindquist, and a few others that have made it high in that sport.
DeNoble. He'll be mad.
DeNoble, yeah. Forgot about.
Oh, DeNoble.
Can't forget about Nick. No, but anyways, I mean, like it's
What
really
about
neat
Doug
to
Gus?
see him. Oh yeah, Doug Gus. Gosh.
Oh, that guy.
My memory doesn't go that far back, but anyways, no, it's cool to see those guys that were just like you said, Cody. It's in your backyard, watching them since they were young, and really moving up in the sport. So he's such a cool,
such
even
a great
keel
kid.
person.
Yeah,
he's such a nice
kid.
guy.
Yep.
Isn't cocky and just totally, I think loves what he's doing, and I see him doing big things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those guys at this point. I don't know what else we can say about him, but he's one of those guys, one of those kids that you want to pull for, you want to cheer for, and a guy that you want to see do well. So awesome,
Yeah,
another
sure.
awesome finish. I mean, comes out of his first two races as a rookie with 2/4. That's pretty incredible. So Nick Janusa, he ended up 5th on the day. Jeffrey Rastrelli overcame some of his hurdles there. He ends up 6th overall on the day. Cody Ford, impressive ride for him, 7th overall. That was his best finish since 2019. So super pumped for him. Logan Stanfield, another solid day for him. He was 8th overall on the day. Wesley Wolf, he had that DNF in the first moto there. So he ends up 9th overall. Top 10 for Brandon Hogue. He rebounded a little bit, at least to get top 10 overall. Michael Allred ended up 11th. Witek Natceniek, he ended up 12th. Cesar Jimenez was 13th, and Michael Perkins, who I believe said he's battling an injury, he ended up 14th overall on the day. So crazy racing. We only had 3 people of the 200 or so that are playing Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy. Only 3 people had the perfect lineup of Joel Hetrick, Max Lindquist, Cody Ford, or Logan Stanfield, who tied in points on the day, and Witek. So congrats to those players. Only 3, like I said. So it's pretty cool to have only 3 people have predicted the perfect score. So that was Saturday. Sunday, though, may have been the more controversial day, starting with the buzz created by Bryce Ford rolling to the gate for Pro-Am. I hear some people really didn't care for that. And I just want to remind people, I wanted to be able to touch on this. We'll talk to Bryce about it when he's on the show as well. But this is something that's always something that people have done. This is not anything new, with the exception of the last few years here. Pros have always run Pro-Am as well. And I'm talking good guys, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Josh Upperman. Those are guys that I had to race against as their top 3, top 5 pros. I had to race against them in Pro-Am. You can go back to, eras previous, like Corey Ellis and guys like that, who were, competing for, good finishes, wins and stuff in the pro class, who were also running Pro-Am. And, like I said, if you want to reference an earlier time period there. So guys, this is normal. I don't know why people are so upset about this. Jason, I saw you, kind of weigh in, I think on social media. But I think it's BS that people are taking offense to this, whether it be riders in the class or fans. I mean, I needed to be able to bring it up because this is something that has been in ATV racing for as long as I can remember, pros running Pro-Am as well.
Yeah, I guess I don't generally comment too much on posts. I just try not to be controversial at all, but I just wanted to kind of shed light on, I mean, he basically so Saturday night, I was talking to him and Cody, and actually their mechanic, Nick, was telling me that they were going to race possibly Pro-Am Sunday. And I thought it was honestly a joke, but apparently Bryce woke up at 7:00 in the morning Sunday and said, he called Mark, I guess, and said, hey, get the bike ready. So him and Jody put it together. They got everything, dialed in, and he went out there. And so a little insight, I guess, between the 2 motos on Saturday, Bryce he wasn't feeling the best. He was in the motorhome, had a super bad headache. So I don't know if he just felt like he needed to kind of get more practice in, redeem himself, but he woke up feeling good Sunday morning, went out there. I mean, he didn't touch anybody. He didn't, he let them all ride their own deal behind him. And he obviously said on the podium, like, it's a one and done thing. He's not trying to go out there and steal anything away from anybody. But I was kind of, beside myself too. Everybody's so quick to kind of jump on things, and especially with social media, but I get it. If he was going out there and just kind of waxing everybody all season, it's one thing, but it was kind of a, no harm deal. And
Agreed.
It was good practice for him, I think, just to get out, ride his own race. I was kind of excited to see, I was really excited to see Zach Decker and him line up next to each other. But obviously Bryce checked out a little bit in the beginning, led the race, and Zach put in a really good race too. But yeah, I mean, no harm, no foul. It was what it was, and people just need to kind of chill about it, I think. So
Exactly. It was a good measuring stick there, but yeah, it's not like he didn't get in anybody's way. He went 1-1, so you can argue he didn't get it in the way of anybody's points or anything like that. But Casey, why are people so upset?
This is the exact reason I don't read the comment section. It's because it's complete bullshit. Like back in my day, but back in the day, like the guys race both classes.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. And I remember watching Upperman come and actually race against you.
Yep.
You know, because it did fade off.
Yep, it did.
And then Uppy was having a little bit of a rough year. I remember Jeffrey was racing the pro class and won the Pro-Am championship.
Sure did.
So here's the solidifying facts of this situation. As weird as it sounds, like Sunday night, we're all rushing to the airport. We're trying to find Ubers. We're jumping in cars with people, and we're going to the airport. And I get there, and I'm standing in line, and I look ahead of me, and there's Jason Decker.
Okay.
Me and Jason have been friends for years. Me and Zach, like I'm good friends with the entire family.
Yep.
And so we walk through security, and we're kind of walking over to head to our own gates or whatever. And I said, "Hey, what do you think about Bryce racing Pro-Am?" And he says, "No lie, like this is no shit." He looks me straight in the face, and this is just Jason, and it's as raw as it gets. He says, "I hope he races all of them." And I'm like, so as a dad myself, and as a prideful individual, like you want your child to win, and Jason is very prideful, and he loves his children. Like they do no wrong, they do no harm. Like they're angels, just like all of our kids are. Like we all think our kids are devils at home, but what our pride is our children succeeding.
Yep.
Like I live my life every day to succeed, to make my children succeed. If my children are succeeding, whether I'm rich or poor, I'm okay because my children are doing good.
Yep.
And so this is a father of, I think, 4 kids or something. I don't know how many kids they actually have, whatever. But Zach is in a situation that he's making or breaking his career this year. It's not that serious. Like he's going to be okay if he doesn't win. But let's just face it, in Jason's eyes, that's what he sees. That's reality of what it is. And he says, "I hope he races all of them." And I'm like, oh, no, that's reality. That's cool.
Yep.
Because the only way Zach's going to get any better, yes, Aaron Salinas is there. Aaron was very close and rode a very good race. But how are you going to get better unless you're racing against somebody to make you be better? Mm-hmm. So Facebook comments, Instagram comments, screw it. Put it aside. It doesn't matter what you guys all think in reality when you're putting in the comments or Bryce Ford shouldn't be racing, blah, blah, blah. The guy that is actually racing against him and the guys that are racing against him, I've talked to Aaron, I've talked to Robert, Salinas. They're perfectly okay with Bryce racing.
And I'm glad you said that. Now there was people in that class that were bitching. I know that for a fact. But my argument,
I know the top second and third guys in that class were not.
See, and that's
I don't know, and that's why I don't read the comments, because I don't want to know how big of crybabies some people are.
See, and this is what I'm saying is the guys at the front of the class, the guys that finished second and third to Bryce are not bitching, knowing that
they can learn. They can learn.
That's what I'm getting at. And again, like, like there's time. I wish I didn't have to race Jeffrey. I wish I didn't have to race Ronnie when he was really good. I wish I didn't have to race Parker, when he was a good pro, and the list goes on. Uppy was in the class. I would have won a bunch of Pro-Am races. 4 of them, I finished second to Cody Gibson. That would have been 4 wins, but it was what it was. So this isn't a new concept. It's just not a new concept. That's all I wanted to be able to touch on there. And
Cody could win every pro race to today if it was 5 laps. And no disrespect to Cody,
Yeah.
Cody was just freaking phenomenal. Cody's one of the only guys that's ever beat Joel through the amateur ranks.
I know.
Cody
Yeah.
Gibson, Jeffrey Rastrelli are the only guys that gave Joel Hetrick fits through the amateur ranks. So give yourself a little bit more credit. And at one race, what race was it? When Cody Gibson and Casey Martin were racing each other for a pro-am, it had to have been Walnut, I think. I actually was Casey Martin's mechanic that day.
Okay.
The Caseys were out, and we actually beat Cody that day,
Redbud.
which is exceptional. Was it Redbud?
Redbud. Yep.
Okay. I don't even remember what race it was, but
yeah, it was Redbud.
We beat Cody that day.
Yep.
And
Redbud Pro-Am production, that was the only race that Cody lost all year other than one earlier in the year when his bike broke. But yeah, you guys beat him straight up.
Yeah. I did a whole lot. I washed the bike. I think I changed the clutch.
There you go.
That whole day. It was pretty epic.
So everybody that's listening right now, message Cody Gibson and tell him that we want to hear from him on the Digging Deep podcast, because he's agreed to it a few times and then pulled out. So we want to hear from him. So please, everybody, go to him, get in his DMs, tell him that Digging Deep, we want him on here. And maybe if we pressure him enough, he'll get on the show.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
All right, guys, I'm stoked to get this guy back on the show. Brought to you by Manscaped and their Lawnmower 3.0 electric trimmer. Go to manscaped.com to get 20% off plus free shipping by using code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Coming off a stellar weekend at Three Palms, it's reigning AMA ATV Pro Rookie of the Year, Bryce Ford. What's up, pal? Thanks for joining us once again.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Just been riding today and just been taking some time off, just sort of soaking in what happened at Three Palms.
Yeah, man, it was a good weekend for you. I appreciate you fitting this into your schedule, obviously, with, obviously those days, training days and stuff like that are crazy. But yeah, I mean, right off the bat, man, you're a second year pro now. You just grabbed your third pro class podium of your career, but I know you have some lofty goals. So take me through the emotions that you're feeling on the podium there. Are you stoked, as you should be, because it's a freaking pro class podium, or do you find yourself like hungry for more, basically, even though Chad and Joel are legendary? Do you find yourself wanting to beat them or expecting to beat them, or are you not as happy as you think you should be because your goals are so big? Take me kind of through your emotions there after the races.
No, for sure. After the race, I was pretty stoked. I was actually got a little bit sick before the second moto, but I pushed through the second one, and I mean, a podium's a podium. I was excited.
Good.
I would have liked to have done a little bit better in the second moto. In the first one, I made a big mistake and I hit the hay bale and I got stuck on it, which is part of it. But it was a good day. I really enjoyed it. The first qualifier, my valve cover bolt came out and my oil was leaking everywhere, so I only got 2 laps in that one, and then in the second one I just did my thing and I was relaxed all day. I felt good, and then getting the podium just felt really good, and especially being my home track, it felt amazing. So it was a good day.
That's awesome. I mean, the reason why I asked is because, knowing that your goals are so big, I was still hoping that you were able to enjoy the podiums, because just like you said, I mean, a podium is a podium, and that's gnarly. You have to be gnarly to pull that off. So, and it's an absolutely stacked class. I mean, you're kind of starting to feel like maybe you're the guy that these riders are going to have to go through, if they want that third podium spot. And that's a big deal. I think that's a spot that so many ATV racing fans were focused on. I know, Daytona didn't go the way you wanted it to, but your speed was there. And so it's really looking like, you might be that guy, kind of trying to fill that void of the third podium spot that Thomas left behind.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest with you, Daytona was really actually hard for me to overcome. Working so hard and feeling so good earlier in the day, I felt like I won the heat race, and then I get on the gate and I had a little mishap, and just that day was really a disaster to me. I gave up halfway through the main event, which got me a 6th. I feel like if I would have went hard that whole main, I could have been fighting for the podium, but I mean, it's part of it. We messed up there, but I mean, to talk about the podium spot, I think that I'm a guy that's fighting for it. Nick Janusa has shown like incredible speed this year. He's up there.
Yep.
And one that really impressed me the second moto was Max Lindquist.
Mm-hmm.
I got in this like mental fog, and I was like playing around the second moto, and he started reeling me in. I would say probably 4 seconds a lap. So I just gotta stay focused and just, I mean, do my thing. I feel like if I come to the race and I do my thing every weekend, I feel like I know where I should be. It might not be a podium every weekend, but that's the plan. And we're just going to build from this and just keep going.
Yeah. I mean, touching on Daytona, you know, when you have a bad day, like a really bad day, it seemed like, you know, you just had so many hurdles thrown at you, so many curveballs, and to come out of there with a 6th, I mean, I still feel like, it seems like it could have been worse. Right. So you kind of dodged a bullet there. You showed some really good speed at Texas, pull off a podium there, which is awesome. And yeah, so tell me a little bit about that day then there on Saturday. You told us a little bit about it, but I mean, it was a solid day or a really good day, I should say, from beginning to end. You know, you were fast qualifier for a bit before ending up a strong 3rd. You grabbed a whole shot. You gave Joel all he could handle at one point, and at the start of one of those motos. And you know, you ended a great day at the races on the podium. So tell me a little bit more about the races themselves.
Yeah, honestly, the day started off really good. This year, I've just been focusing mentally to just stay relaxed, stay inside before the first qualifier. And then the first one, like I said earlier, we had a little problem with the valve cover bolt. It came out. And then I went to the pits and I tried to make another lap, but I didn't get it. And I got like 6th. And I knew that on that track that I'm pretty comfortable there. So I knew I could push a little bit different speed probably.
Yep.
The second one I came out, I did maybe one sight lap, maybe not. I know I crossed the finish line probably 1st or 2nd. And then I just did a hot lap and I came by and Mark gave me a pit board and it said 1st. And I was like, yes. That might've sort of mentally messed me up a little bit, cause that's the only hot lap I did that qualifying session. And then the next time I came around, I was 2nd. And honestly, I like 2nd more. 1st is sort of like you're the chicken at the gate. Like you're the first guy to choose the gate.
Right.
So I don't really like that, but 2nd was nice. I tried one more lap. I got the same lap time. I made a little mistake. And then the last lap, Chad, I guess, snuck in a fast lap, which 3rd, to be honest with you, qualifying that close to Chad and Joel, it's been a dream. So
yeah,
to be 1st would have been great. To be 2nd would have been even better, but we'll settle with 3rd and we'll just grow from that. Going into the first race, I was super calm, super ready. I've been practicing great starts at my house, so I know what the great does. And then the first gate dropped and I hit the start perfect and pulled the start. I look over to my left after the first turn and Joel's on the inside of me. I'm like, what? How did he do that? But anyways, he got the start on me and he went inside, I went inside. And then I honestly got in this mental state where like, I pretty much have nothing to lose. Like I got in this atmosphere that like, I felt like I should have been there. Like, you don't even have to worry right now. Just ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I started putting laps together and I was watching Joel ride and I would make a mistake, lose some time, and then I'd catch back up. And I was like, I guess, really excited. Once I got off the track, I was super tired. I'm assuming it was just from the adrenaline. Yeah. But that was a super good first moto. And then the second moto, I lined up next to Joel. He was to the left of the box. And he's like, this is the whole shot. And I'm like, all right, we'll see. And the gate dropped and I popped the wheelie in 2nd, popped the wheelie to 3rd, and then just ended up pulling the start. And in that start, I blew the turn again, but I was like, there's no way I'm going to let this happen twice. So I pretty much held it to the inside of the next turn and then stalled it on the inside. And Joel, thank God for him, went outside and he passed me because I stalled it there. But I got it to refire and I was in 2nd. And Chad was behind me and I was just thinking like, we could be an idiot and throw this away or be smart with this. And Chad was putting pressure on me and I sort of took a really bad line before the whoop section. I went like inside of the outside and it was pretty hideous. And he passed me there and then I just rode my race and honestly might have slowed down a little bit too much at the end. But it was a super good day to get the podium. I mean, I know it's a third place, which is one of the worst places to get, but I mean, for me, that it doesn't matter if it's third or first right now. It's getting the experience, getting faster each day. It's I mean, it's a great feeling.
Absolutely, man. So I love to hear that, because every time you're in one of those scenarios, every time you're out there with those guys, racing with those guys, I feel like the pace should be a little bit easier to find each and every weekend, I would think. And, last year there at Three Palms, we saw you like have a burst of speed and, pass Chad back. It was for like a lap or two. You were in, Mach 1's pace, I feel like. And then this year, you put it together for a few more laps of that crazy, crazy speed. And, like you said, you ran with Joel, you made up some time, you were running some faster lap times there for a few laps. And, like I said, I mean, the more you do this, the more comfortable it's going to be, the more, you can, you're going to kind of just build up that muscle memory of, hey, I can do this. I can run with these guys and kind of be in the mix. And that's how you put yourself in great position. So I feel like, there's so many great things ahead of you, and I don't blame you for kind of taking it easy or whatever to, because a podium is such a huge deal. And like I said earlier, I mean, coming off of Daytona, I'm sure it was great to just get out of there with third place points, a great points day for you. And, put that another podium this year under your belt, the first of the year. And now you can, move on to bigger and better things going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just like you said, leaving Texas with a podium is definitely a nice feeling. I took a break for a little bit there, but now I'm back after it again. And honestly, it's my like third day riding, and I feel really good right now. I just got to keep after it. I can't get content with the third place because everyone else is working just as hard. So I just got to stay after it. I'm in a good place in points right now. I know it's only the second round, but it's nice to be in third. I think I'm close to second, which is Joel, but I expect him to do his thing. But third place right now is a great place for me, and I just need to stay after it. If I could ride like I do in practice, though, I think I could give those guys a good run for their money. I just got to get more gate drops under my belt and just stay there mentally. I feel really good physically, obviously, because Dom trains me and I ride quite a bit. So I feel good physically. I just got to get there mentally, and it's just going to take a little bit of time, but hopefully we can get there as soon as I can and see where we stack up. But like you said, this year at Three Palms, I was with Joel for like 12, 13 minutes, I felt like. So I felt super good. I just made that big mistake, and I just got to learn from it. You can't make a mistake. And actually, before the race, Dom's like, this track is going to not be about who's the fastest. It's going to be about who makes the most mistakes. And guess what? I was the guy who made the biggest mistake that day, and I paid for it. I went from second to fourth. But it's just, I just got to learn mentally. I got to be stronger and just stay focused on the game and let it play out.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I feel like, you made that mistake. You were able to overcome it, still got out of there with a podium finish, great finish. And so I think going forward, it's all up from here. I mean, that was a great, kind of laying the foundation to build off of going forward. What about the Yamaha? Is that feeling like home at this point? Cause man, you look good on that thing.
Yeah, to be honest with you, in practice, last year on a Honda, I made probably 5 or 6 mistakes, and this year I've made probably 1 or 2 each time I practice. So I mean, just the more practice I get, the more at home I feel. But like you just said, it like I feel at home on this thing. I jump on it and I could probably ride it with my eyes closed at this time. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it feels super good. I feel super confident in it. I can come off a jump crooked and I know what's going to happen. Sort of with the Honda, I felt unpredictable. But no, I feel super good going through loops, everything, hitting jumps, turns. I mean, it all feels good. The only thing that I need to make sure I get some practice in before High Point is on a dry slick track. And in our track, we're going to make it dry slick here in the next day. It just rained a lot, so we had to till it up. But we're going to make it dry slick and go from there and see what we got.
Awesome. Yeah. I like I said, you look right at home on the Yamaha, and I figured that's what you were going to say, is that I was starting to feel like home for you. So next thing I want to talk about is on Sunday, created quite the stir when you went to the gate for Pro-Am. What went into that decision there?
To be honest with you, I don't have a stock bike, and I know the only way to beat Joel and Chad is to get seat time.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of went in there with the idea of like, I mean, like, this is my race bike. I'm just here to get seat time. Like, if I could have got 0 points for both motos, I would have done it. I know a lot of people are writing negative stuff online. I know Zach Decker, he took it really well, which I appreciate. There are a lot of people though that are writing negative comments, and I think it's honestly really sad. Some people are saying it's bad for the sport. Some people are saying it shouldn't be allowed. The rule book says it's allowed. Those guys are pro-am riders. I think that it can only help them. And I did it for myself to get more seat time. If I ever do it again, or not if I ever do it again, I'll never do it again this year. I'm going to get a stock bike built just to get gate drops and just to get seat time. But I did it with no intentions to affect the class. And I feel like I didn't really affect the class. I went 1-1 and didn't really touch anyone. So
yep.
I just did it to get more seat time. I didn't mean any harm to it. I didn't mean to embarrass anyone. I didn't mean to show off. I just want to get more seat time. I know what Joel and Chad are doing. Like, I watched them ride for 17 minutes at Three Palms, and I know what they're doing. And I just got to beat it into my head and do it until it's like muscle memory. So I just did it to get practice. I didn't mean to upset the whole ATV racing nation. I mean, they're mad at me no matter what I do, but no, I just did it to get seat time and just to get better.
Yeah, pal. Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because in recent years, the pro-am dynamic is different. But when I saw these people bitching, all I could think of is, man, this is how it's always been. Like, in all the years that I raced pro-am, I had to race Cody Gibson.
Real quick. Yeah, the year Jeffrey Rastrelli, he was on a Can-Am, and I think he was in like 3rd in points, and he did it. I know, like you said, Cody Gibson did it. There's been multiple guys who have done it. And I honestly like get why the people are mad, because maybe it looks bad for the class because they got beat by so much, but it's literally helping them get into pro class. It's showing them where they stack up. Yep. So like, I would take it as a learning curve. I know Brett Music, he's an ex-pro, but last year at Muddy Creek, he signed up. I really struggled to pass in there, but guess what? It taught me a lot. Like, if I was in the class, I would be all for it. It's a great stepping stone and a learning curve for these riders, but you know, you can't make everyone happy. And it just sucks because I never went out there with the intent to make more people pissed at the Nationals.
Right. Exactly. I mean, again, that's why I wanted to bring it up, is so that you could kind of say that, and I'd have an opportunity to say, you know, and it hasn't been the case the last 2 or so years, but in all the years prior to that, people raced pro and pro-am. And like you said, I mean, Jeffrey, I was in the class at that time when, you know, you're seeing Jeffrey at the front of the pro class. And then, you know, guys like me who think they're going to, you know, we're racing pro-am too, will have a chance. You know, we had to race Jeffrey Rastrelli. Like I said, I had to race Cody Gibson in his prime. I had to race Josh Upperman when he dropped down to race pro-am a few races. I had to race Nick Janusa when he was a top 5 pro, and Parker Wawerka and Ronnie, and the list goes on. Those are guys that were, you know, top 5-ish pros, but there was, you know, tons and tons of pros that also raced pro-am. I was one of them. So I just wanted to be able to say that, you know, if those guys wouldn't have been in there, yeah, like I would have racked up a bunch of, you know, a bunch more podiums, you know, some wins and stuff. But this is nothing new. This is something that's been going on for the longest time. And like you said, it's not something that you're going to do long term. It was kind of a one-time thing. I'm sure that you going and doing it at Texas, at your, you know, your kind of area, your track down there, that played a role in that. And like you said, you didn't get in the way of anybody's points battles, anything like that. We know it's the first race for that class, but you went out there, you went 1-1. Now you're going to, you know, go do other stuff. So you don't, you know, you don't piss anybody else off, but you did nothing wrong. Like, you absolutely did nothing wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, like a bunch of pros have done it in years past. And like I said, I woke up Sunday morning, and I think like the 10th practice was on the track, or big bike, little bike, the last round. Sure. And I was like, Dad, I want to go race pro-am just for seat time. That's literally the idea I had in my head. And it's sort of sad how misinterpreted it gets, or you see these keyboard warriors online, about probably 20 of them just, you know, saying negative things. And it's like, I'm just trying to get better. I want to eventually win one day, and this is what it's going to take, seat time. So, and I saw the opportunity, like you said, I had a super fun day Saturday, and I just couldn't get enough of it Saturday. So I was like, let's do it again Sunday. And it was a good day too. So I just did it all for fun and all for seat time, and just to try to get better to catch Joel and Chad. And it's sad how misinterpreted it got, but hey, if it makes everyone that pissed, I might do it again. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways.
Yeah. Well, we preach on every one of these episodes that it's all about having fun. So, that you going out there to have some fun, try to, get some seat time and stuff like that, improve yourself, but to have some fun at the end of the day, that's ATV racing in its purest form. You made the most of it. You went 1-1, you won by nearly 30 seconds in both motos, but, there was no bad intentions there, nothing like that. So I feel like, we tied that up nicely. That's all we got to say about that. So next up is High Point. Last time we were there, you were still on a 250, and I remember you battling with Max Lindquist that weekend, at least in one of the motos. I swear I can still see that memory in my head. What are your thoughts on High Point as we shift our focus to the next round here?
Yeah, me and Max actually had really good battles there. He was leading me for
I remember
3.5 laps out of the 4th lap, and I passed him before the downhill, before the finish.
Yep, I was standing right there on the fence, and I remember seeing that pass.
So there's definitely some bad history there. I know he was pretty upset about the pass, but anyways, that's long gone. High Point, I mean, it's gonna get dry slick, and we're gonna see what we can do. I definitely need to get some practice on dry slick and just keep doing my thing, work on starts, work on it all. But I'm super excited. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to ride every day and work out every day that I can, and just give it my all. This year, like you said earlier, I have a lot of personal, like, self goals. But each weekend, if I just want to come into the track 100%, and I want to put that effort all into that day and just see where we're at, because last year I felt like sometimes I gave up on myself and at the 15-minute mark of the moto, and I don't want to do that. I lost Texas, the second moto, by 41 seconds. I gave up. I just want to come in and just give it my 100% all and see where we stack up and just get closer to those guys and hopefully compete for a moto win. If at High Point, that's great. If after that, then let's do it.
How do you feel on those types of conditions at High Point? The hard pack blue group stuff. Do you like that?
I mean, on a Honda or a 250, I loved it. On a Yamaha, I'm definitely going to have to chill out a little bit so I don't end up on my head or bend the steering stem. But no, I mean, I like speed. So if blue groove fast, if that's what we're at, then let's do it. I love to go fast. I love to go fast in cars, quads, anything.
Okay.
So
so the real question, should people be picking you as their tier 1 rider in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think some people picked me at Daytona and sort of failed them. So they didn't pick me at Texas, but I think I picked it back up. But that's up to them. If they want to take the gamble, I think it's a risky gamble, but it could pay off. But if you guys don't.
Some people did take you, but I will say, I tell people this all the time when they talk to me about this game. Part of it is you got to take a risk, right? Like one of these weekends, like if you were to win one of these things and somebody bets on you, like they're going to yard everybody in points. So
I'm telling you right now, I'm like, my goal, I will not give up until I win this season. I'm going to put it all into this season. So, if you pick me at High Point and I win, hey, good for you. But I'm trying my hardest every week, and every week in training, I don't treat it any different. Daytona was just a hideous event for me, but it actually sort of helped my season. We found a lot of little problems that we had in our program, but now we got it figured out. But if you guys pick me at High Point, I'm gonna try my hardest. If you guys don't, I'm gonna try my hardest to mess up your fantasy league. That's for sure.
That's what I love to hear. So you're playing the game with us. Do you pick yourself for one? And do you think about the game when you're out there on the racetrack?
So I've been watching you post about it and stuff. I haven't picked yet. I've just been so focused, but
I understand.
At High Point, I'm definitely gonna play, and we'll see. I don't know if I feel good, or I mean, obviously, if I feel good going into it, I'm gonna pick myself. But
Okay.
I just don't want to play with myself mentally and do something stupid because I'm still young and I'll probably be worried about fantasy more than racing. No, but hey, if I pick myself going in, hopefully I try a little bit harder and can pull off a win. But I'm telling you right now, I'm trying for a moto win. I don't care what it takes. I'm gonna put myself through it and get it done.
Yeah, that's the next thing to check off the to-do list. So last question before we get you out of here. It's a fun one. So you were a good basketball player before focusing full-time on your professional racing career. So tell me who you played basketball like whose game did you mimic out there on the court?
We played a lot of pickup games actually the last year. The Ford Brothers racing team was an event.
Okay.
But who I like is LeBron James, obviously, just because the way he carries a team and all that. But who I play like, I like a Steph Curry that can just pull up from anywhere. I would shoot threes. I love threes. I just think like shooting a three is way cooler than a layup. But I was sort of actually an awkward height in high school. So I would play like power forward sometimes, and it was actually sort of lame. But I love to shoot. I mean, threes, whatever. But yeah.
Hey, power forward that can shoot threes though. That's valuable. So,
yeah, it's pretty legit. It's like a Draymond Green or someone like that. But,
there you go. Yeah, so I'm a LeBron fan too, but I love when your mom would post some pictures or videos. I mean, of your basketball days and stuff. I love to just see. We know you as an ATV, a fast ass ATV racer for as long as we've known you, but to see you play other sports, see that competitive nature and aggression and all those things in other sports, I enjoy that. So I wanted to, that's a question I've wanted to ask you the last few times that we've had you on. So I'm glad to get it in here this time.
Yeah, for sure. There's one story about actually we played a pickup game. Dom was on the other team. I was on the other team, and Dom, to be real with you, is a pretty good basketball player. He might shoot like a crazy man, have a weird form or whatever, but hey, I can tell you right now, we were dropping threes that night. I think we probably both had like 50 points, and Nick Janusa was in this game, Wesley Wolf. So if you ever get any of them on, ask Dom. He would. Okay. I mean, he's like pretty good. He's a big guy, a goofy guy, but he was getting after it and scoring some threes. We were actually going back and forth. It was really fun time. But yeah, that's a story that I don't tell many people, but it was super fun back in the day.
Yeah. You got to love when you get some people together. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's going to be competitive, so you're going to have some fun. So yeah, glad that we could touch on that, but yeah, pal, we just want to congratulate you again on an awesome showing at Three Palms. It's been amazing to watch your success here early in your pro career. And you're always one of my favorite interviews. So like we've been talking about, the next thing to check off the to-do list is a moto win, and hopefully that comes soon. So I can't wait for that to happen so we can bring you back on to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. That's my goal, Cody. And thank you for having me on the podcast. It's always a fun time. And hopefully we see you at High Point, the plus 25 champ, Are you going to make it out, or are you going to disappoint us again?
No, the plan is to go. I have not, I said this on the last podcast, I have not ridden an ATV since I was at Three Palms last year, but yeah, hoping to get out to High Point and have some fun. I really liked that track last time we were there. They really upped the game with the racetrack and the layout and stuff. It was a lot better than the years prior. So yeah, that's the plan, is to be out there, and want to come by, and I want to get myself a Ford Brothers Racing t-shirt. That's what I'm looking for.
We'll hook you up. I've got on the podcast more than once, so we'll definitely hook you up with one. But no, anyways, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to High Point. Hopefully I can make some people's days with this fantasy stuff, or I can kill some people's fantasy if I do something special.
There you go, pal. Thanks again for joining us. I appreciate it so much. That's third place podium finisher Bryce Ford, brought to you by Manscaped. Use code Digging Deep 20 at manscaped.com for 20% off. Thanks again, pal. We'll see you soon. We'll see you at High Point.
Thank you, Cody. See you there.
As the #1 podcast in ATV racing, it's only right that we partner with the industry leaders in suspension tuning. insert Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions is a full-service ATV and side-by-side suspension center specializing in the revalving and service of your motocross and off-road suspension. With over 25 years of elite-level knowledge, experience, and testing with riders of all ages and ability levels, Casey Greek, Jay Goebel, and the Impact crew strive to exceed clients' expectations for service and setup. Impact Solutions is the official Elka Suspension Service Center of the United States, offering unmatched product knowledge and experience. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. Head over to ImpactSolutionsATV.com or give them a call today. 15 years into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back with us and continuing to make huge waves in the ATV world. For the second consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for some of the fastest riders on the planet. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to Factory43ATV.com to see their full line of products available for all makes and models. Want to be just like Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli riding with Factory 43's industry-leading products? Head over to Factory43ATV.com today. We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider-owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and the goal of keeping costs affordable. The Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity. Owner David Payne's love for eccentric colorways and crazy patterns shows in his product, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Grip's drive is to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. With comfort and quality as key motivators, the family affair is constantly working on the next more innovative and improved glove. Get a grip on life, join the Gripped movement, because no one wants a bland glove. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com, that's GRIPT gloves.com, and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC has been supplying riders with aftermarket components from the industry's top brands for over a decade. With over 80,000 products in stock for your ATVs, UTVs, metric and HD motorcycles, dirt bikes, and snowmobiles, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC can tend to all your power sports needs, from hard parts to riding gear. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads also offers hard-to-find used parts for your vintage dirt bike, ATV, three-wheeler, or snowmobile. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for 10% off of orders of $100 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Thank you, BTQ LLC. Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by their 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the concrete division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSC to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is the global leader in below-the-waist grooming and an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. To ensure that you have the best tools for your family jewels, visit manscaped.com and use code DIGGINGDEEP20 for 20% off and free international shipping. Manscaped is here to provide you with the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. The Lawnmower 3.0 electric trimmer is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Ceramic blade, Advanced skincare technology, waterproof capabilities, it's simply the best. And Manscaped's Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The Performance Package comes with a new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Performance Boxer Briefs, a travel bag, deodorant, and soothing aloe toner. If you're listening, you know that good tools are key, so get the best tools for the job today. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20. So I want to move on to another topic here. One of the last things I want to touch on here before we get you guys out of here. The other situation on Sunday was Chad Wienen getting tore down after winning Pro Stock. Casey, I got the gist. I didn't get any info from you ahead of time, but I wanted to make sure you could touch on this because I've been getting messages galore asking if we're going to touch on this. So Casey, what do you know about Chad getting tore down after Pro Stock?
This wouldn't be a show if we didn't touch on it, right?
I know.
I mean,
right.
Let's go there. So, okay. The last couple of years, I've heard it. I might have even said it. That's how deep I'm going to go with this. We're going to dig into this thing.
Okay.
I might even said it like, what is going on? Like, how is Chad riding that stock machine? I'm gonna change the post real quick. We're gonna go right back to this. So production B class was won on a complete stock Yamaha
YFZ. Okay.
So the kid that actually won the class is one of my riders. So this is a shameless plug for me. Okay. But here's the bad part about it is I've never even seen that bike. I never even touched his shocks, but it's a complete stock bike. And when he came to me, he's on a budget. It's Connor Brewer, good kid, good family. He came to me and he's like, he's moving up for 250s. What should I do? Buy a YFZ. Buy a complete stock bike, ride it as a practice bike, build yourself a race bike.
Okay.
Fast forward 2 months, he's kind of struggling to build his race bike. What engine, who do I go to for engine? Who do I go to for ignition? Or mapping and, injection and all this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, just race a stock bike. Race production B and race the stock class. If you beat people in the production B class, you're a hero. Mm-hmm. Right? You're an absolute hero if you go out there and beat people in that class.
Yep.
If you don't, you kind of got an excuse. You're on a stock bike.
That's fair.
Race the stock class as your serious class, build your other bike throughout the season, and then come out next year and race the A class on a fully built bike.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, you're crazy. You want me to go race a mod class on a stock bike? Yes, I do. Yes. Keep your money. Buy your shocks, buy your A-arms throughout the year, whatever you're doing throughout the year.
Sure.
Piece it all together because we're racing on a budget here.
Yep.
Okay. Shows up in Texas, wins the production B class on a bone stock bike.
That's amazing.
Okay. So now we go into Sunday. We've watched Chad dominate this production pro class.
Yep.
For the last few years.
Yep.
Joel goes out, pulls a little shot. Some technical difficulties, doesn't win. I've heard from people in the class that were very close to the competition that Joel would have won that moto. We don't know what happened the second moto, blah, blah, blah. We go forward. Chad wins. Then we go to second moto. Obviously, Joel can't race. They didn't bring another stock engine to put in the bike. They didn't even think it was going to be a problem.
I can see why.
It was just it was an unfortunate situation. Like you could ride them bikes for days and years without having an issue. So shameless plug to Yamaha. Like it's a solid bike. There's an unfortunate situation that happened. He didn't finish. He didn't race second moto. He was already on a freaking airplane by the time the second moto happened.
Okay.
Chad goes out, wins the second moto. Nick's had enough. This is the first year Janusa's raced this class.
Yep.
And he says on the podium, and I'm not going to quote it exactly because it's been a couple weeks now. My memory is not that good, but he said something about, I haven't raced this class over the last couple of years because I felt like there was an unfair advantage. So this year I'm going to race this class. And today I seen the unfair advantage. Before that sentence was completely out of his mouth, Max Lindquist was standing at the podium. And this is crazy. And this is no disrespect to Nick, because I respect the shit out of him for saying something that a lot of people have been thinking for a while.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's no secret. Everyone's been thinking that Chad's cheating and they have the inside and this and that. And my story's gonna end at some point and we're gonna see the result of what actually happened. But Max was standing at the podium and he says, I'll trade you plastic. Because Nick wasn't so mad that Chad beat him. I think, and I don't know this for a fact, and I would call Nick right now and ask him this question because we're good enough that I can ask him this question.
Sure.
I think Nick was more mad that Max Lindquist beat him.
Sure.
By the gap that he beat him.
Okay.
And that's where I think his comments stem from.
Okay.
But hats off to Nick for just saying something. I got mad respect that he actually said that. But what I thought was the craziest and the coolest part of it is Max was at the podium like, hey, we'll just trade plastics. You ride my bike next race, I'll ride your bike. Mm-hmm. No big deal.
Yeah.
Now, where it really comes into is Chad took serious offense to it.
Yep.
And I don't think it was actually directed at Chad.
Sure.
More than it was directed at Max. But obviously Chad's going to reap the negativity, I guess you would say, because Max and Chad are pretty much riding identical bikes, which is just a stock showroom bike.
Right.
Chad did the same thing. Walked straight down to Nick's pits, said, here's my bike. You ride my bike at the next race. That didn't obviously transpire. Here's protest me. Just call me out. So just to settle the debt in the situation, Max protested Chad. From what I know, as of right now, and I haven't made any phone calls because I already knew the answer.
Yep.
Was Chad was completely legal. Mm-hmm. Everything's good. Chad rides a stock bike very well.
Yep.
Now, let's watch the pro results on Saturday. Let's watch the pro results in the stock class on Sunday. Max rides a stock bike very well. I had a conversation with the Lindquists about the changes that they made to their Sunday race program versus their Saturday program. And it was all digested on the momentum that you carry on a stock machine versus on your race machine. And that's why Max ended up second. So the question's answered. Chad's not cheating. Max not cheating. Mm-hmm. The question's answered.
Yeah.
So now we can put all that to rest. We put a claim rule in. And I told Chad this when they were filing the protest, because Chad was obviously very aware of Max filing the protest just to put it to rest. That's all it was.
It was to prove a point. Exactly.
It was to prove a point. So Max filed the formal protest. And I looked at Max and I said, well, if he's cheating, congratulations, you won. And Chad giggled.
Yeah.
Literally, like he giggles. And I'm like, it's the truth.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of it. There's things that you can do to that machine. And Chad rides the machine very well. Max rides the machine very well. Joel rides the machine very well. I think we're going to see a very competitive race between Chad and Joel on stock machines. Mm-hmm. What I go back to is watching results from last year, and another shameless plug to go to the Yamaha thing is the lap times that those guys were turning even last year.
Sickening. On
stock machines. They're running the same lap times, if not just a little bit better than the Pro Mod class. Mm-hmm. The Pro Mod class was designated as a hybrid class. Mm-hmm. You could run a dirt bike engine in a complete custom chassis. Mm-hmm. Yep. What do I know?
No, you're exactly right. So Jamie from PP Performance Tuning was the first one that kind of brought this to light for me. I had no idea it was anything that went on. And yeah, I mean, he straight up said, I mean, obviously, Chad was 100% legal. There was no surprise there, to me anyway. But I know, like, I'm glad all this went down because this has been something that's been talked about for well over a year, since the beginning of last year, or even previously to that. This is something that everybody believed. It was like they could not believe that Chad or those guys at the front of the pack, Thomas, I guess, would have been in it at the time, were able to go as fast as they were going on those stock bikes. And yeah, I mean, Chad got tore down. Like I said, he was 100% legal. I can't imagine people actually thought that they were going to find that Chad was cheating I mean, they must think he's stupid, but Chad, wanted to clear the air. His bike was already in his trailer. Jamie said in the rig, and he made a point to take it out and clear the air. So we needed to touch on that
How are you going to be a factory supported rider
and cheat? Exactly.
And cheat.
See, and
it's simple.
Yep.
And there's rules in that class, and there's lines in that class that you can get very close to.
Yep.
Everyone's gonna push to that line, and Chad is not pushing. Like, Chad is pushing to that line, but he's completely legal, and that's it. Just is what it is.
Exactly.
He's good.
See, and my dad taught me at a very early age that if you ever get caught cheating for the rest of your life and then recounting the races previous to that, people are going to say that you're a cheater. So, yeah, he won 7 championships, but yeah, he was probably cheating. No, they were never going to find that Chad Wienen was cheating. So
I got accused of having nitrous when I was working for Baird. Literally, a guy came up and rest his soul, he's no longer with us. And he was a good friend of mine, but people had talked so much that it built this head of steam to where he finally manned up. And I shook his hand. I'm like, thank you. Uh-huh. Someone finally manned up, because when I went from being a factory guy, mechanic for Natalie and Doug Gus and these guys, to being an amateur mechanic, the rider I went to go work for was already winning before I got there.
Right.
I didn't make him a winner. Like, he was successful.
Yeah.
He was winning by 25, 30 seconds at a time every weekend anyways.
Sure.
I came in and just kept the program moving, and we did great things, and the kid won a lot of races. But at one point in time, we got protested for having nitrous. and I hope the people that are listening right now that stem this up or brewed this up in their own minds are listening right now.
Sure. Because
they know, and I proved everyone wrong that day. And obviously we didn't have nitrous. Like, you don't put nitrous on a 2-stroke. Like, you can, but we're not going in a straight line for 180 foot. Like, we're going 4 or 5 laps around a lot of feet,
in a youth class.
if I would have cheated, Lane's legacy as an amateur rider, and we don't know what Lane's future is going to bring. And Lane's a very talented rider. I think Lane needs to be an F1 car. If you want to ask me a serious question of a rider that has hand-eye coordination, the only person I've ever met that has the same hand-eye coordination that Lane Baird does is Bryce Ford.
Sure.
At 10 years old, I could be sitting in a chair and Lane could be standing there telling a story or just being the goofy ass Lane that he is. And I could throw a water bottle at his face and he could catch it.
Jeez.
Bryce Ford is another one that has that talent. Another very famous race is Blake Baggett.
Mm-hmm.
He could do the same thing. So racing is a lot of hand-eye coordination.
Sure.
Lane Baird has the hand-eye coordination to be a Formula One driver.
Wow.
Lane was exceptionally well with a very well-backed program. The kid won a lot of races.
Honestly.
We didn't have nitrous. Yeah. So the cheating thing is sensitive to me, but I'm not going to lie. Like, there was times where I'm like, how is Chad at, let's just call it 200 pounds. I don't know what Chad weighs.
Mm-hmm.
how is he doing what he's doing against riders like Thomas Brown, 175 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
How is he pulling him out of corners and down straightaways?
Yeah.
It's momentum, people. It's momentum.
Yeah.
Like, he just does it.
And I think you can see it when Chad is riding that thing. Like, you can see that he keeps his crazy momentum. He's manipulating his body in crazy ways to keep the speed up. I mean, we don't need to dive into that anymore, but glad that we could touch on that. So I want to tie a bow on this thing. Up next is High Point. We're returning back to the legendary Pennsylvania track for the first time since 2018. And the racing was incredible out there the last time that the series went there in 18 with some really good track changes and stuff like that. So really good racing last time we were out there. Jason, I'll ask you first, what riders are you focused on? No, you probably won't be there in person, but who are you looking, forward to? Who are you going to be focused on the performance that they're going to put in when we get to High Point?
I guess my two probably bullseye riders that are, I think for sure, I know Bryce is super hungry. I mean, he's real hungry. So, and week in and week out, he makes phone calls to try to figure out different niches. And
sure,
I had his machine here for a couple weeks this winter, and they're making changes every week. I mean, it's incredible. So I know he's working his tail off down here. He's training a lot. They're making changes on the machine. And I know he's hungry. After last round, I'm really, really impressed with Max Lindquist. And I think, I guess I haven't gotten to watch him on that sort of track yet. I feel like Three Palms is a little bit maybe more technical, and but I think, like Casey's saying, I mean, momentum's going to carry you. I think obviously we have a pretty decent break here, so maybe it's not as much momentum, just race to race. But those two are my kind of two guys that I think are going to definitely push it. And I kind of hope, just for the sake of getting more excitement up on that podium, I really hope they both get good starts. I hope they press Joel and Chad. I mean, to each their own. Both of those guys, I enjoy watching. I think they both have incredible talent, but I kind of really want them to get up there and put in their speed early and keep with it, not make mistakes. So those are my guys that I'm really pushing for. And I know Nick too. I didn't talk to Nick when he left the race, but I was watching him talk to Chad, and I know Nick he's got some fire in him. He's definitely going to go out there and push it, and he's got the speed to be up on that podium as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I know that Casey's going to go in another direction here on riders that he's going to want to look at, but two interesting names when you kind of link them together like that with Max Lindquist and Bryce Ford, because they were in a gnarly battle to the death in the 250 class last time that we raced at that track. So that'll be fun to maybe restoke that fire. What about you, Casey? Who are a couple guys that you are going to be focused on and expecting big things out of at High Point?
I mean, obviously, like, I'm expecting Joel. It's a PA race. It's a hard packed off camber race.
Mm-hmm.
So it suits his strong points greatly.
Yep.
I may or may not have a considerable amount of money on this race.
I'm a gambler.
I'm a gambler. I've said it over and over again. Like, let's go. But what I'm really looking for, like, I'm gonna step outside of the pro class because unfortunately, like, we're professionals, like, we all do this, but we don't go. I'm looking at Ian Juka in the 250 class. He showed very well last year in PA at Pleasure Valley.
Sure.
He did very well there. I think Ian's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the 250 class. We can't shy away from Mason Jackson in the 250 class. I think I'm almost more excited about the 250 class than I am the pro class at times.
Okay.
And then another rider that I'm looking for big things would be Blair Miller. He didn't get to really showcase. A couple little issues happen at Three Palms for him. He didn't get to, like, his weekend on paper was terrible, but if you actually watched him race through the weekend, And this is a rider that he is one of my riders. He's a new rider to my program this year.
Sure.
And we were down in Florida, and he come and tested, and like he stayed in my hotel with me. And like, there's not many like 17-year-old riders that I'm going to let, like, or 17-year-old kids stay with me at my hotel. And he's a different maturity. He's kind of like a Max Lindquist. Like, he's got a lot of maturity. And I'm like, hey, just come over, stay with me. No big deal. He's a really mature rider. And what I think we're going to see out of him is progressively, he's going to get better and better in this Pro-Am class. But I flat out told him, like, hey, just race A class this year, win a championship, win, 2 championships or whatever it is.
Yep.
And honest to God, until the first moto dropped of Pro-Am on Saturday, I thought he was racing A class. He's one of my riders.
Right.
He never told me, but I think he took, and I hope he didn't take that I doubted him. I just wanted him to go after winning an actual, win the championship and then move into Pro-Am.
Sure.
Where last year, like, he did very well in A, but I felt like he could have done another year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's paying off into my in my benefit, because I got Aaron Salinas doing very well in Pro-Am. Blair's going to do very well in Pro-Am, and then Dane Molander is doing very well in A class.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Dane Molander won the B class last year and did very well in 250. And then now this year I got Christopher Parrish. So, not trying to shameless plug like sponsored riders over and over again, but it's just watching history move itself along. But I think going into the amateur side of it, I think we're going to see good things out of Ian Juka, Mason Jackson, and Blair Miller. I think Dane Molander is gonna do very well again in the A class. So I'm excited. Honestly, I get more excited almost to watch these amateur guys because I see what it's doing. I obviously cannot predict the pro class because I'm 96th in fantasy. So I'm freaking terrible. But I like to watch the excitement in the amateur stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm in 9th in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy. I still, it's so close to call. There's so many good guys.
I'm 96th. I don't want to hear your 9th.
Yeah. Well, I think I got a good feeling about how I'm going to do. I think that you might be, these are Impact Solutions riders that I think you can expect big things out of at High Point. Joel has always been dominant at High Point. He's phenomenal on that style of racetrack, like we kind of referenced. Jeffrey Rastrelli, like you referenced at the very beginning of the show. When I think of Jeffrey Rastrelli and some flash rides, you obviously, the very first one that pops up is that 2018 ride in Moto 1 at High Point where he passed Chad and damn near won the first moto that day. If he, wouldn't have snubbed it. And so I'm excited to see him out there at High Point. This is such a different style of racetrack than obviously the tracks that we've seen these guys race on up till now. So I'd like to see if he could recreate some of that High Point magic. And also Brandon Hogue. Last time, we were out there, he went on a crazy, late race run in Pro-Am Moto 2 to take the win there. I don't know what position he was in, but he went from like 5th to 1st in the last like 2 laps of the race or something like that. So he's a guy I'll be focused on as well. Maybe he can kind of right the ship here in 2021, and maybe he can tap into that High Point magic as well. But those are all Impact Solutions riders, and maybe all FourWerx riders too. But those are going to be guys that, and I know Casey, I feel like you like to, you're a gambling man, but you might like to bet with your heart. And so maybe that'll be okay at High Point.
Yeah. And maybe I'm a little biased to like my riders or whatever, but at the same time, like I'll call the Kettle Black. Like if there's someone that I feel is going to beat one of my riders, I'll give them the credit all day long.
Right.
When I do when I do this podcast and do the Digging Deep show, like I speak not always politically correct. I don't always just go with what I feel like my riders are going to do. I try to lay my true opinion or my true thoughts and my heart out there. So don't ever, for the people that are listening, don't ever think I'm just biased to my guys. Like, these are guys that I've sort of hand selected over the years that I feel a lot of faith in. I just happen to be lucky enough to be able to work with them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I was obviously just giving you a hard time, but yeah, man, I think that
not just you, it stems deeper.
Right.
For sure.
Right. Well, I think that's going to put a wrap on this for us, guys. I think we pretty much covered everything as much as you could possibly cover it, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank you guys both for supporting the podcast. Thanks to Impact Solutions for hopping on board with us now, and thanks to you, Jason, and your family. The FourWerx family for supporting us from the very beginning. Just thanks for everything that you guys do for me and everything that we're trying to build here at Digging Deep. Thanks for jumping on the podcast, to share your opinions and expertise, both of you. Just really appreciate it so much. I can't thank you enough for the time. I mean, we're damn near 2 hours in here. I swore up and down we were going to keep this short, and it's nearly impossible when you get some guys together that enjoy ATV racing as much as we do. So Jason, just want to address you first and thank you for everything you do for me, everything you do for the show, and thanks for being a part of this. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate everything you do for the sport as well, and we'll keep helping you out as long as this thing goes. And I appreciate you putting so much effort into this. Casey, you as well. I know you both are like, you know way more facts about this, the history, and maybe my memory doesn't work as well for this stuff, but thanks to you guys for putting in a really good effort and telling everybody what goes on behind the scenes, and we'll keep following along, and hopefully I can be on again.
Yeah, you're always welcome here, pal, but give yourself a little credit. I mean, you're a lifelong ATV racing guy yourself as well, so give yourself a little credit.
No, I follow it every weekend, even if we can't watch it in person. We watch live timing. We try to look through all the pictures, and we follow it pretty good, and we'll stay deep in the sport, and we'll always support ATV racing. But unfortunately, my mind goes a million miles an hour with everything going on. So, but we appreciate everything, and thanks for having me again.
Like I said, I think you need to give yourself a little more credit because you were an ATV racing guy. I think you were a customer of my dad's 20 years ago or whatever. So, you've been around it for forever too.
Yeah, for sure. I remember being in there when I was a 16, 17-year-old kid, just looking at the walls, wishing I could afford what was on those walls. But it's neat to be on the other side of the fence now, just helping everybody out and making my dreams come true and being a part of it. So.
Hey, and this is something that before we get out of here, this is something that I've always thought was really cool. You create FourWerx Carbon, you build this brand, and create FourWerx Carbon to what we know it as today. And it's such like a cool factor thing, like it's got to be so cool for you to go to the races. You have, the market share you have, there's every quad there has something FourWerx on it, right? Damn near. And that's got to be a really cool thing. Cause again, it's like, you have the cool factor. Like FourWerx Carbon is one of the things you have to have on your bike to complete the project. That's got to be pretty cool for you.
Yeah, for me, I've always been into the flashier things, I guess. And it is really neat. I mean, you think about it, and it's the first thing you notice usually when you look at something is, the hood or the seat covers or whatever. And I work my butt off trying to make sure everything looks good and the quality's there. And maybe to a fault, sometimes I don't let things go out of here unless they're 100%. But that's how we're always going to be. And I know seeing my kids at the races now, they look around and they think they look at me and they're like, Dad, you're famous. But honestly, because they think that because people run our stuff, they've seen it since, this was just an idea for me. So
yep.
It's cool. And I'm a nobody when it comes to just being a normal person, but I just like being a part of the sport, and I try to help out as much as I can. And I still see a lot of machines there that don't have our parts on it. And my goal is to kind of cast the seeds to wherever they're not. But hopefully everybody, sees that we're deep into this and we believe in the sport and we truly are, pushing to expand it even more. I mean, we're developing new parts all the time. We're sticking money into this, the ATV part, industry and just like Casey's doing with Impact and Elka and all those guys. I mean, when you believe in something, you put your all into it. So that's, we're going to continue to do that.
Absolutely. There's no higher quality parts when it comes to your demographic with seat covers and carbon parts and stuff like that. There's nothing that compares. So for a lot of years, obviously I've been grateful for your backing on a personal level, and then to have you be a part of Digging Deep. It's been an awesome marriage, and now to have you on the show, that's really cool too. So I just really appreciate all you've done for me and the show and everything else. And Casey, like Jason just said, you're in the same boat. This is a passion thing. All three of us love this sport so much. Just appreciate, you always giving me your time. Like I said, I told you on a call earlier today that I was going to keep it short. But when we start talking racing, I feel like that's an impossible thing to do. So I just appreciate you being a part of it. I appreciate Impact Solutions now coming on board in an official way, and the Impact Solution, Impact Moment, all these things. So I just really appreciate you being a part of this going forward, hopefully even being more a part of it with the segment and everything else.
Yeah, and like to me, like just hearing like the passion with Jason, like just knowing what he's putting into it and just moving forward as we go, and just seeing people, like the people that are here now are the people that are actually really involved with what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So, you told me earlier, like, oh, I just want to keep it a short show, and I kind of laughed at you. In a respectful way.
Obviously not a short show.
If you're gonna bring me on, it's gonna be a long show. Like, I don't care. Like, like to talk, I like to talk. Like, we're gonna go, and I'm not gonna stop until I get done saying what I want to say. And until someone tells me different, that they don't like to hear like what's coming out, yeah, I don't really care. So
I feel like it's few and far between, but I do get people that message me that are like, "Hey, love the show, a little long sometimes, but I do like it." I'm like, "Hey man, just like break it up. Listen to a half hour, stop, pick it up, next time you hop in your car or whatever." But I feel like
take the long way home then.
That's all I feel like. I'm a podcast guy, so more the better. But as long as we're not on here, talking about nonsense, but I feel like it's really high quality stuff, and that's thanks to guys like you both for coming on and talking about it.
No, and like I want to thank Jason, like just for being involved in the program, like in the sport as much as he is. Mm-hmm. I still need that TRX 90 hood that we talked about in Three Palms. Like, that thing is fire. Like, it's so unreal. Like, and I only know of one person that has it. It's the Shadows. They have it on their 90 for Jameson. But I'm like, there's nothing done to my TRX 90, but I'm gonna have that hood. So as soon as Jason says like, "Hey, it's ready," like, I'm buying it now. But
We got it. We got it set aside for you, Casey. Just hit me up and we'll get it over to you.
Yeah, like just the passion in the sport is stupid. The people that are involved are real, and if you're a fan, if you're a racer, whatever it is, like, support the people that are supporting it. That's all I ask. Whether you use Impact Solutions and myself, or Jason, or another brand, or whatever, if you use different shocks or different products, like, just be involved, because we're all here for the same reason. And I really feel that we're this far deep into this stuff now that there's really not rivalries. Like, I don't dislike my competitors, and I think Jason's in the same boat. And Cody, like, you're pretty much standing alone in the elite situation. But like, we're rivals. Like, we're competition to each other, but we're not out there just like, "Oh, don't do this because of this." Like, none of us are doing that stuff. Like, let's just go do our things. And I know there's people at the races, like if I can't be there, or even for Jason, like if he can't be there, like we have each other's backs. Like I've done favors for my competition, and my competition has done favors for me. And I think that's honest to God, between that and just the family atmosphere that we gain from what we're doing is why I continue to do what I do.
That's what it's all about. ATV racing is a family. That's a wrap. Again, just want to thank you guys. You guys rock, and look forward to having you guys on again soon. Now stay tuned for tonight's final guest, Poland's own AMA ATV Pro Class rookie, coming right up.
We are proud to be partnered with Numira Technologies. Since 2001, Numira has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Numira's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances, and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Numira's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.numira.com. Numira Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits, Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. FourWerx Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, FourWerx has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust FourWerx for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. FourWerx Carbon, always working hard to bring high quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
All right, guys, our final guest of the night is someone I'm super excited to learn more about. Brought to you by Blenders Eyewear. Use discount code DiggingDeep20 at blenderseyewear.com for 20% off the world's coolest and most affordable eyewear. Say hello to Pro Class rookie, Poland's own Witek Natceniek. Did I say that right? Say it for us.
Hi guys, I'm Witek Natcaniec. Yeah, you got it quite right.
Okay, well, yeah, I just got done telling you before we hit record on this thing. I got a little nervous. I wanted to make sure I did it right, but it's Witek. No more Witek, even though a lot of people here in the States have been saying Witek, but it is Witek. So hopefully a little more Witek than Witek going forward here after the podcast here, pal. But welcome to the show. Welcome to the United States. We're pumped to have you here on Digging Deep.
Yeah, man, thank you so much for having me on the show. Like, I've been watching your show for a long time, and you know, it's really cool to be here and really appreciate it. So
awesome.
Cool experience, man.
Awesome. And I've heard a lot of great things about you. I've heard that, you're a good young kid with a good head on your shoulders, super nice guy. So I'm super excited to bring you on. And so people can learn some of, your personality, what you're about, what this whole process, coming from the other side of the world is like. So really cool to hear some of that. But full disclosure, we never really know what to expect when foreign riders come over here to the States. I mean, these are the fastest guys on earth, as you know. And honestly, man, you've been killing it. You've had a 9th and a 12th so far. Great job on that. And you should be really proud. So first of all, what has it been like, and what has the process been like getting over here to the United States? When did the plan, first start for you to come over here? When did that idea come about?
Yeah, so the whole idea of coming into the United States, it started a long time ago. So the whole journey has been pretty crazy for me with the COVID stuff going on. Man, like it's been incredible. So like the first thoughts about coming into the US, I've had them in like 2016.
Okay.
That's the year that I also switched to racing dirt bikes. So some people don't know I was racing dirt bikes for 3 years, and then I returned to the ATV scene. Mm-hmm. So the first thoughts about the US trip, I had them in 2016. But then when I switched to bikes, just kind of all changed for me. Mm-hmm. but yeah, like then when I returned and I did the Polish Championship last year,
Okay.
and I wanted to do the European Championship in the ATV motocross this season. But with the COVID and stuff, people saying that it will not happen. And I was like, maybe just I will try to give it a shot with the US, because it's been my dream since I was a kid. And like, man, I was like kind of, if I don't pull the trigger on this one at that time, it might never happen again. The opportunity like this might not ever happen again. So
sure.
Just decided to just send it and try it out.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And I love to have that kind of international flair at the races. I mean, it's awesome to have you coming from Europe and being here at the races. It's just an added element to the pro class that I think is really special. So then you're in Florida, right? You're staying in Florida. Tell me about like what your training is like, where you're riding, and all that stuff. Tell me what that your kind of week, like what your preseason was like, and then what your week to week process is like right now.
Yeah, so like I live in Banel. That's like 30 minutes from Daytona. So I had a really close way to my first race. But yeah, it's been really cool, the whole process. I try to ride as much as possible, and I'm just so glad to have an opportunity to train with the fastest guys in the world. Like I train with Chad a lot, with Chris Burridge, with just fast guys like this. Like I've rode with Jeffrey Rastrelli, with Joel on training. So, just the opportunity to be able to learn from the best guys in the sport, like that's really, really cool for me. And I try to learn the most that I can out of every single training that I go. So basically, if I don't ride, I either do like recovery stuff or just, some general fitness stuff, like training in general, like cardio training or like fitness, core strength, just some general stuff to be better every day and to use the time out here the best that I possibly can.
Awesome. Yeah. So I kind of want to know like what it was like to move here from Poland. So you're 4,000 plus miles away from home.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's far.
Yeah. And you start, you're here. So like the move is a big enough thing. And then to be in a new country, kind of a new world, that's a whole nother aspect. And then to have to start racing the fastest guys on ATVs in the world throughout that, and then hold your own, like all of that is such a big ordeal. Has it been what you expected? Like, has America been what you expected? Has racing these races been what you expected?
Oh man, I would say it's even more or even better than I expected. Like that whole experience is just crazy. The first 2 weeks out here, that was so intense. Like, finding a place to live, an apartment, buying a car, like figuring everything out, finding myself in a new place, because I'm here with, only by myself. So
sure,
like I'm dealing with all the stuff with the bikes and stuff. So I'm not really a professional mechanic. I don't really trust myself with wrenching.
Okay.
So that's a little bit sketchy, but like, the whole process was really tough. And I've also had a funny situation. I was, when I got here for the first couple of days, I was living in a hotel, figuring stuff out.
Yep.
Then I was able to find a pretty cool deal on Airbnb. And I was living at that place for like maybe a week or two.
Okay.
And the people I was living with were vegan. So I don't have anything against vegan, but I like to, eat a good steak or stuff.
Sure.
So I didn't do it because I didn't really want to upset the people and, just try to be as nice as I can for them because they were really good people.
Of course.
And the guy were like super extreme about his vegan stuff and stuff.
Okay.
So he was like, dude, you can't even cook spaghetti. Like literally he didn't want me to put spaghetti into the pot. So he was like, if you do this, then I will have to throw away the whole pot. And I'm like, dude, that's the next level of, vegan eating.
No kidding.
So, yeah. And then I found the place where I'm in right now, the place in Banel. So I found it by accident. My car broke, and I went to the mechanics, and just started a small talk with a lady who was working at the mechanics.
Okay.
And she was really like, how do I say it? She was really nice, and I was asking if she maybe knows someone who would offer an apartment out here in the US.
Sure.
And she responded to me that, you know what, like, you can live with our family. So I visited her husband, and from this point on, I'm living with them for over a month. And it's
really?
really cool. They helped me out so much out here, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, to have someone helping me out on a daily basis and stuff.
Yep.
Like, man, I just couldn't imagine a better place to live, and it happened pretty much by accident. So that's insane.
That's awesome. I mean, you'd love to hear those stories of just good people helping good people, right? But the world can be a crazy place at times. So to just open your house, open your door to somebody is probably not super common. So that's awesome that you're able to link up with some good people like that. And speaking of good people, you talked about this being a dream of yours since you were a little boy. What was it like to meet some of those, those pros and those guys you maybe looked up to for the first time? Maybe you met them at the Quad Cross of Nations stuff. I don't know that, but when you got here and then you were able to train with Chad, train with Joel, train with Jeffrey. And I'm assuming knowing all those guys, they're such nice guys and they're so approachable.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to believe that that had to be a pretty cool experience for you as well.
Oh man, that was really intense. Like I didn't get to know them personally, because when I did the Quads of Nations, I think it was the last year the America didn't take part in the race. It was like 2015, something like this. So
sure.
I think you guys weren't racing in this year.
Okay.
You did it later on.
Yep.
So watching these guys on the Instagram and stuff, and just pulling up to the track and seeing like Joel with Jeffrey, I was like, holy shit. And at first I was like kind of a little bit like stressed out to talk to them and stuff.
Yeah.
But then like Joel straight up came to me, like helping me out with a almost flat tire.
Okay.
And offering me help. And I was like, man, like I didn't expect these people to be that open to me. And just definitely the experience of getting to know them and all this support and help that I, also got from them, and the motivation, and just how cool they approach me coming in here to the US to race.
Yeah.
I was really super excited about that. And to be honest, being back in Poland, I couldn't even imagine that the situation would just turn out like this, that I would be training pretty much on a day-to-day with all the fast guys. That's really cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Like I said, I feel like it's just a testament to ATV racing being such a big family, that it's all kind of just, we're in this thing together. And that's really cool, especially when you're talking about the best guys in the world, right? Like you think of them, you always want a competitive edge and whatever, but at the end of the day, we're all in this together. So to have them kind of open their arms, open their, kind of their door to you, to the inner circle, I think that's pretty special. So we kind of talked about that. The motivation for you was going to be my next question, but you said that ever since you were a little boy, you kind of wanted to come over here and race the United States Series. And you're here for the entire season, right? That's the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan. The plan is to do the whole season. And I think I also have to mention Patrick Turini coming out here.
Yes.
I think that was also really cool. And unfortunately, he didn't make it to the second race in Texas, but at Daytona, the first race, riding with him also, I think that was something special, having two guys from Europe coming out here.
Yep.
That was really cool. And I also really enjoyed that he was able to come here. And with all these COVID restrictions and stuff, even making it from Europe to here, that's such a big struggle, man, with all the travel bans and stuff. That wasn't easy.
I believe it. And did that make it feel, with Patrick being here, did that make it feel like a little easier for you? Like you weren't necessarily on your own, because he was kind of going through that whole process just like you. It was just as new for him as it was for you.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit easier just mentally, seeing that someone else is also doing the same thing as I am doing.
Sure.
But like, from now on, I'm here alone. So
right. Well,
yeah.
but like you said, I mean, you have a ton of great people in your corner. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
as you know, you're here alone, like coming from where you came from.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it seems like you've made so many great connections that, I mean, you're really not on your own. Like if you needed something,
that's definitely true.
yeah, you have a lot of people that would come and go to bat for you. So what about quads? So you're practicing pretty much on a stalker, right? But
yeah, all the time, ripping the stunt bike.
Okay, so then that's gotta make the race bike feel like it's a rocket ship when you hop on that thing.
Oh man, that's insane! Like when I hop on the race bike, I'm like, this thing is too fast, especially with all the race fuel stuff you run out here.
Yep.
Like the bikes are just quick.
Right. So where did the race quad come from? Is that a bike from Chad or?
Yeah, it's a bike from Chad.
Okay.
It's the 2020 race bike from Chad. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. I thought that just on some of the conversations we had with Chad, I thought that maybe there was a connection there with you and him, at least on the ATV side of things.
Yeah, there is.
So what about, I feel like the biggest talking point when we talked about the European riders coming to the United States was the tracks, because the tracks are so much different than what you guys ride over there, maybe the jump sizes and stuff like that. Like people were maybe hesitant on what it was going to be like for you guys coming here, riding our tracks, just being that they're so different. So what have the tracks been like for you since coming to the United States? Has it been a shock or has it been not that big of a deal?
Oh, it's definitely a bit different with the tracks. Like some of them are pretty similar, but you have some tracks that are like completely different. And I see you guys have like a lot more of like double and triple jumps that we don't usually get as much of them in Europe, I think, in the ATV racing scene at least. So I was like not really used to hitting those triples and stuff, and I remember casing one triple when Joel invited me to train with him. With Jeffrey. That was really cool. So I cased like it wasn't a huge triple, but I cased it, and I was like, holy shit, there is no way I'm saving this. And I did save it. And after this, Joel told me like, when he heard like 2 times, panic rev. So when you panic rev and you case and then you bounce and you panic rev again, he was like, that's a certain crash. But somehow I saved it. But like, I think from this moment on, it's been a little bit easier for me. I just kind of got used to the jumps a little bit. And like the tracks in general, I think they are just wider and they make for a great racing, definitely. I think in Europe we got more of like a little bit tighter tracks, which are maybe tougher when there are a lot of riders at a track. But these American tracks, they definitely make for a great racing. That's for sure. And with the level out here, man, these guys are fast. So
right. Well,
those tracks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that you would know best, obviously, but I do think that your stuff is maybe a little tighter back home. It seems like it's a little more natural terrain.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, not so many man-made jumps, but also, I know you've been practicing at a bunch of tracks down there and stuff, but with Daytona and Three Palms, those are different than like all the rest of the tracks that we race on. I feel like the obstacles at most of the tracks going forward are less man-made. There's going to be more natural terrain. So maybe things will even feel a little more normal in the events ahead, because I think that, like I said, I had thought about this. I hadn't put it on my notes here. But the tracks that you've seen so far, at least the tracks you've raced at here in the United States, aren't really like the rest of them. So I think that maybe even some of that'll get a little easier, maybe feel a little more like back home. But speaking of back home in Poland, so tell me, like, I got to believe that you being here is a pretty big story to the people back home, I would think. So does it feel like the whole country of Poland, or does it feel like, all of like European ATV fans? Like, does it feel like they're all pulling for you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I feel like all the Polish guys are pulling for me, which is really cool. Like, to be honest, after Daytona, I didn't really expect so much people, texting me and stuff, calling me. Like that was really so cool. And like with the Daytona, the whole event was, for me, it was really stressful. Like, man, I've never ridden a supercross track in my life. Like the one with Joel, yeah, I did. But before this, we don't even get tracks like this in Poland, man. We don't have supercross in Poland. I mean, even considering dirt bikes, we don't get it. So that was a huge change. And to be honest, I was really stressed at that race, but it turned out pretty well, even though how many, you know, how much crazy stuff happened at the race.
Hey, a lot of crazy stuff, but you made a last lap pass, right, for top 10, and top 10's a big deal. Top 10 in your first race, that's a really big deal.
Thank you. That, you know, that was hard, but I made it. But that was definitely a tough race for me.
Yeah. And when you talk about back in Poland, is it a lot of sand? Is that what
I would say we get a mix of everything. Like we definitely get like some real sandy tracks.
Okay.
I would say like even like beach sand, we definitely get it in Poland. But the most common type of Polish track, I would say it's like mixed dirt with sand. That's the most common one we've got.
Okay, which is good then coming here, because there's an array of different dirts here in the United States, right? So, you know, Daytona and Three Palms were kind of sandy, not extremely sandy, but kind of sandy. And now, you know, the next track being High Point, conditions will be a lot different there. So how do you think, how will you fare on a track that doesn't have any sand and the dirt is you know, hard packed harder at a track like High Point? What do you expect? Will that be better for you? Or is it not really that big of a concern?
You know, I think that's not really a big concern for me. I really like both sandy tracks and hard packed ones.
Okay.
So I think it will be pretty cool. Actually, I'm more concerned about the layout of the track. It's the thing I enjoy more, you know. Like I care more about the layout than the dirt itself. But I think it will be a nice change to race on a hard pack right now after, you know, 2 rounds on, as you say, a little bit softer dirt. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk to you about, and we talked about, you know, kind of how the European, you know, how all the fans over there have been pulling for you and stuff like that. I've seen them on our Digging Deep fantasy stuff, you know, like the Europeans talking to each other about, you know, picking you and Patrick at the first race and stuff. So, you know, you were our top tier 4 finisher at Three Palms, and I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be picking you here going forward. But I wanted to ask you, who's been the biggest help to you since being here in the United States, whether it be a rider or, gosh, I don't know who, but who's been your biggest help? Maybe outside of the family you're now staying with, who's been your biggest help?
You mean the biggest help after coming in here?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say I have to give a huge shout out to Chad. Like without him, my staying here would be pretty much impossible. I got the bike from him, and you know, just all the support from him, like the parts wise and stuff. Oh man, that's also a huge help. But I also have to thank my family for, you know, giving me the opportunity to come here. Also, I think that the trip wouldn't happen without them. So also huge shout out to them. And like generally, I think I can't even help all the people enough. Just so many good people along the way. And, you know, me being a total, you know, a mechanic that doesn't know shit about the stuff, you know, I really don't know anything about it. And some people helping me out with, I don't know, just doing stuff like tire balls that I've never heard about.
Sure. Yep.
So that's really cool. And I just, you know, to be honest, I didn't really expect that I would get so much support and so much positive reactions coming out here, and that makes it a really cool experience. You know, just that's really cool, man.
It's awesome. And again, I'll say it one more time. I think that that's just a testament to ATV racing being a big family. And I think that you're going to have that many more people that want to help you and are going to, you know what this whole process has been like for you after they listen to this, because I mean, this conversation, you're just so authentic, and it's cool. I mean, you're a guy that, like, all of us want to cheer for, because the odds are stacked against you, right? Like I said at the beginning, it's tough to do what you're doing, to come as far as you've done and kind of be by yourself and, kind of figuring this thing out on the fly. So I think that so many of us want to see you succeed in doing this. What about the biggest challenge? What has the biggest challenge been since you've been here?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge is, like, for me, it's getting up to the speed of those guys and then staying consistent at that speed, because I don't know, you can go one lap fast or stuff like this, but then to keep the pace for the whole race, that's the thing I have to prepare more for. And just the intensity. I think the intensity of the riding is the thing I'm struggling the most.
Okay.
But, working on it on every training. So hopefully it gets better.
And what I was going to say before, you have the luxury of training with some of those guys, and you're exactly right. I mean, there's no substitute. Like, if you don't see that speed in practice or training or whatever, there's no way to substitute or get used to that without that. So you have that advantage of seeing it on practice days and riding with those guys and learning that speed. And the more time you spend around guys going that speed, you just start to go faster. Like if you were, if you were back home spinning laps, you could spin laps all day, every day. And I got to believe you're faster here riding with these guys because you're exposed to that speed.
Yeah, you just have to go faster. Otherwise, there is just no point in coming into the races in the pro class. Like, the level and the intensity is so high. And like, also about the challenge, I think what's pretty tough for me is also training on a stock bike every time. And then when I pull up on the race day with the race bike, the change is just huge. So that's the thing I'm kind of struggling with also a little bit. Man, like for these two races, I didn't even have the right handlebars in my stocker. I was waiting for the for the stem to come in, but didn't really want to change the bars when the stem was a little bit too low, because I ran the +1. So I was training on a stock bars, which it was pretty
right.
rough.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm that same way. Like, my two machines or whatever have to be like the same, or you have that transition period of feeling it out on the first little while. So hopefully going forward, I mean, even if it's stock, if you're able to get your controls set so that at least those feel the same, and there's not that adjustment when you go bike to bike that way, that should obviously help. So at least you get on one machine to the other, at least you're comfortable. And if the machine is just faster and handles better, that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a huge help.
So last question for you. I can't thank you enough for doing this, by the way. This is awesome. I want to know what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish by the end of the season to make this thing feel like a success? And I hope, I mean, you've done really well. You've really held your own since being here. So maybe your goals have changed since the beginning of the season. So what are your goals? What do you want to do before the season is over?
Realistically, I would really want to get into that top 5. That would be really sick. And like, training hard and doing everything I can to finally make it, to that podium. That would be really sick. We will see how it goes, because, as I say, these guys are quick, but hopefully we'll be able to fight them, later on in the season. That would be really cool. So trying to make it to the podium one day,
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, awesome, man. I think so many of us are pulling for you. I give you so much credit. Like I've said throughout this thing, it's hard enough to move across the world, but to have to learn life here and race the fastest guys that there are on ATVs and hold your own, I just think that's so impressive. So we're stoked to have you here in the States. We're stoked to have you on the show here. Look forward to meeting you in person. Really look forward to that, and look forward to talking to you again here on the show as you click off more and more of these good finishes, and hopefully click off more of those goals as well.
Yeah, hopefully hopefully see you soon personally, and also at the show again. That would be really cool, and really appreciate you having me out here. That's a really cool experience, and yeah, I'm glad to be able to do a podcast. That's cool. So
yeah, grateful to have you, man. Grateful to have you, man. That's 991 Witek Natceniek. Say it one more time. Was I close? I was close.
Yeah, Witek Natcaniec.
There you go.
That's the tricky one. Natkaniec is the tricky one.
Hey, I'll keep practicing. That's Witek, brought to you by Blenders Eyewear. Use discount code DiggingDeep20 at blenderseyewear.com. Thanks again, pal. See you soon. We're cheering you on. You're always welcome here.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. Major thanks to tonight's guests, Joel Hetrick, Bryce Ford, Witek Natceniek, who you just heard from, Casey Greek, and FourWerx Carbon's Jason Conti. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Shout out to Logan Tremelin of Tremelin Media House for allowing our audio to be a part of his new groundbreaking video series. Be sure to check that out. New installment coming very soon. Thanks to our sponsors, CSD Tires, shop.csdtires.com. Yamaha thanks to Blue Crew, Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, FourWerx Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. You can find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Our show merchandise, including Digging Deep shirts and hoodies, our Quad Guys Get Hot Chicks shirts and hoodies, back-to-back national champ merch, and more, all available at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Buy Me a Coffee button. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to help us out. You can call our voicemail line anytime, 920-569-3519, and follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content and Digging Deep ATVMX fantasy info as the season is now in full swing. For additional fantasy info, head over to atvfantasy.com today. You don't want to miss out on all the fun. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links and discount codes, our new show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend. Please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Joel Hetrick, Bryce Ford, Witek Natceniek, Casey Greek, Jason Conti, Brooke Catherine, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to the #1 podcast in ATV racing, 2 million downloads and counting. Until next time, thanks for joining us and digging deep with the stars of ATV motocross. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad leaders are freaking gnarly.